The story starts in Shanghai, a city that's always busy and full of life. The sun is out, the streets are crowded, and there's this constant buzz everywhere you go. Mom was looking after him, making sure he was comfortable. She mentioned how easy he had it, just eating and sleeping all day, while she handled everything else. She thinks to herself that if her son turns out healthy, everything she's done and all the effort she's put in will be totally worth it. The main guy wasn't just a regular baby. He'd actually been reborn in this new life. Every time he got fed, he picked up these energy points, almost like it was leveling up just by eating. Spots a glowing blue screen pop up in front of him, and his eyes go wide. As he checks it out, he realizes there's something special waiting for him, a cheat skill stacked on everything else he just got. Excitement starts to build up. It's like unlocking a secret level in a game he didn't even know he was playing. Right then, his parents start talking about his future, saying stuff like he might end up as a gene or even a cyborg one day. He just listens, not really sure how to react, but their words stick with him as he tries to picture what that might actually mean. By the time he was just 3 months old, the main character had already finished his first challenge. After kicking his legs 10,000 times, he managed to score his first reward. Still isn't sure what gene or cyborgs actually are, but his mind drifts to all the crazy stuff he's seen in comics and movies. Maybe they're kind of like superheroes with wild powers and upgrades. The thought sticks with him, making him curious about what kind of world he's set into. When the boy turned 4 months old, his house was pitch black. To keep his powers hidden from his parents, the guy waits until everyone's asleep before training at night. He's even picked up how to crawl quietly, making sure he doesn't get caught. By the time he hit 5 months, he was already up on his feet, stumbling around like he'd been at it for ages. Every time he managed something new, the system just handed him even more points, like it was leveling him up for every small win. After 6 months, he finally managed to sit up on his own. His parents watched as he started to crawl across the floor, just like any other baby would at that age. Sat in front of the TV, taking it all in. As the screen flickered with shows and news, he started to notice things weren't quite like what he remembered from his old life. The world around him looked familiar, but something felt off, like he'd landed in a place that was exactly his own. The Earth was different now. It had changed in ways no one expected, and strange new creatures started showing up. People called them aberrant beasts. To take on these creatures, people split into two groups. Some focused on building better tech, while others turned to changing their own genes. The main guy, S's got this cheat system that gives him an edge, but the world he's in isn't exactly friendly. He knows he has to get stronger if he wants to make it out alive. Every day is about grinding, leveling up, and staying one step ahead of whatever danger comes his way. Right then, he glances at the door. Someone's there, dropping by to see his family. At the door, who lives next door, shows up. She's carrying something that looks like a gift. Right after that, she brings over her husband and daughter. Turns out they're the new neighbors moving in next door. He thinks about how this is the first real friend he's made since ending up in this new world. Deep down, he has a feeling that their lives are going to be connected from here on out. At just 7 months old, the kid was already on his feet and running around. People couldn't help but be impressed. On top of running, the guy can jump too. Every time he does something cool, the system keeps handing him more points. Because of his power, by the time he was 7 months old, he could already run around, jump, and even talk like a little kid. By the time he was 8 months old, the main guy could already manage sit-ups and push-ups right there in his crib. The kid usually kept his training hidden, making sure no one saw him. But one day, his mom walked in and saw everything. She stared, totally surprised, not sure if she was seeing things right. Her son was on the floor doing sit-ups, and she had no idea why. But he brushed it off right away, trying to make her believe she just imagined it because she'd been working too hard lately. A few days went by, and then his mom noticed something weird about her baby boy. She called her husband right away, freaking out because their 8-month-old already had visible abs. The protagonist's dad paused for a second, thinking back. He realized that, yeah, the guy might have a six-pack, but he also eats a lot, like way more than most people. The man suddenly got an idea. He started to wonder if maybe their son was some kind of rare genius, so he brought it up to his wife. His dad talks about his future, saying it'll be a good one. Hearing that, the guy just feels relieved, glad his secret's still safe. They're just hanging out watching TV when a news story pops up about a little kid who can already lift 20 kilograms at only 2 years old. When his mom hears that, she can't help but feel proud. She believes her son will stand strong against those kids from rich, well-known families someday. He always figured his mom knew him inside out, but he couldn't help but question if it was even possible for a 2-year-old like him to pick up something that weighed 20 kilograms. By the time he turned 2, the main guy was already strong enough to pick up a 20 box with one hand, like it was nothing. Just then, his mom called him over to hang out with his friend. He was so caught off guard, the box nearly slipped out of his hands and almost landed right on his head. He leaves the storage room, shoulders slumped and looking wiped out from skipping his training. He heads over to the door and pulls it open. When he opens the door, the guy pauses for a second, not really expecting what's in front of him. Chen stood there holding a pie. She was the same age as everyone else, but the way she talked still sounded like a little kid. Since they were at different stages mentally, they didn't really hang out or play together much. Most of the time, she just ended up sitting on his back while he worked out, basically acting like extra weight for his training. Then the little guy notices something. Using his friend as a weight for training isn't as simple as he thought. There's a small problem he didn't see coming. Sometimes, while he's in the middle of his workout, she ends up peeing on his back. He's gotten way stronger lately, and now he can lift 40 kilograms with just one hand. At just 4 years old, he watched TV and saw a kid being called a prodigy for lifting 30. Watching that, he couldn't help but think he was already stronger than that guy. Even though he's pretty tough, His body stats are still stuck at rank 1. He can't help but wonder what's waiting for him at the next level. For the first time ever, the guy steps outside his house. Everything feels new as he looks around and takes in the world waiting for him. He heads straight to the library, mostly because his parents won't let him use any electronics at home. When he gets there, he takes off ahead of the group. His friend, who's a few steps behind, tries to get him to slow down, but he's too caught up in the moment to stop. His mom wonders why he always picks tough books, but he just keeps flipping the pages, totally into whatever story he's reading. As he flipped through the books, he found out there are 6 different levels in this world. They go from the regular, everyday stuff all the way up to the legendary, almost unreal creatures people only talk about in stories. He learns that every level comes with 9 different ranks. Realizing this, he starts to feel pretty small in a world that seems way more dangerous than he thought. While he's reading, the system suddenly gives him a new ability because he's just hit the milestone of reading 100 million characters. With a new mission from the system, the main character spends the next few days locked in on training and reading. He barely takes a break, just grinding through each day, determined to get stronger. His focus is all in, not letting anything distract him while he works to level up. When he turned 4, he headed off to kindergarten for the first time, tagging along with his friend. Soon after he hits level 2, he finds himself strong enough to lift 80 kilos, and his speed picks up a lot too. He knew that having these new abilities meant he couldn't just stand by anymore, especially when his friend was getting picked on. The main guy jumps right into the center of the room. He moves faster and hits harder than anyone around him, jumping into action without wasting a second. As he does, everyone nearby can sense the rush of power coming off him. He steps up and warns everyone that if anyone messes with his friend again, they'll wake up to a nasty surprise in their bed. The whole room goes quiet, and nobody wants to test if he's serious. After he stood up and made his threat, the bullies couldn't hold it together and started crying, totally freaked out. Meanwhile, his friend just stared at him, clearly impressed by what he did. After that, the system lets him know he's now the king of the kindergarten because he stands out so much. RMC didn't expect a new mission to pop up, but suddenly it did. As he checked it out, he realized something cool. He could actually handle several missions at once. That was definitely new for him. 6 months later, he finishes his reading mission. Now, he can learn stuff as fast as any regular person ever could. Time moved fast, and before anyone really noticed, the boy turned 7. It was finally time for him and his classmates to finish kindergarten and move on. Before elementary school even started, he used his break to keep working out and getting stronger. He trained so much that by the end, he could already lift 200 kilograms. His jump got way better, and this time he actually cleared the 2-meter mark. He started picking up speed, and eventually managed to finish the 100-meter dash in less than 8 seconds. Thanks to his super intelligence, he blew through all of elementary school, and now he was just hanging around, waiting to see what challenge would come next. At last, his days in elementary school kicked off. He walked in already sure that the school competitions wouldn't give him any trouble. He ended up winning the national academic competition, just like everyone thought he would. His family was really proud of it. Whenever he had some downtime at school, the main guy used it to help Shen with studying. She didn't start out as the in class, but once he started helping her out, she climbed up to 2nd place just after him. He wanted that title as soon as possible, so he jumped into every sports event and ended up smashing all the records. He thought school was finally going to be chill for once, but then a new kid transferred into his class out of nowhere. The teacher brings in a new student named, and right away, the main character notices something strange about her. There's just this weird vibe coming off her, not really something you'd expect from a regular person. The new guy with white hair heads down the classroom aisle. Everyone glances over, checking him out as he passes by. While his friend noticed the new girl's hair and made a comment about it, the main guy didn't really pay attention. His mind was somewhere else, caught up in his own thoughts. Right then, the girl with white hair drops into her seat. He noticed something off about her vibe. It just wasn't normal. That got him thinking maybe she was a gene. The idea stuck in his head, making him uneasy. Over the next few days, the new girl kept to herself. She didn't say a word to anyone and spent all her time at her desk, head down, catching up on sleep. At first, everyone noticed her and wondered about her, but after a while, nobody really paid attention anymore. About a month later, things changed. The girl suddenly looked uneasy, beads of sweat showing up on her forehead. Everyone near her noticed the stuff had a seriously bad smell. The other students noticed the smell and weren't happy about it. Complaints started popping up around the classroom. One kid steps up to her and suddenly splashes water all over her. He acts like he's helping her clean up, but it's clear he's just messing with her. The girl pressed her hands down on the wet desk, her fingers curling into tight fists. Anyone looking at her could tell she was mad. She tries her best to keep it together, but after getting embarrassed in front of everyone, the tears just start falling. She can't hide how upset she is, no matter how hard she tries. The girl sits at her desk and starts crying, her head down as tears roll onto her arms. Around her, the other students just stare, not moving or saying a word. They look unsure, maybe even awkward, but no one steps in to help. His friend looked over at, who was clearly having a rough time with the bullies. He wondered if there was a way they could step in and do something to help out. He agreed to help her out, figuring she wasn't dangerous or anything, just a girl getting picked on. He moves fast, reaching out and grabbing the bully by the collar. The bully freezes, caught off guard and not expecting anyone to stand up to him. With a scary grin on his face, the main guy made it clear that the troublemaker had to start cleaning up right next to his desk, and he wasn't joking around. The The kid's eyes go wide, and he freezes for a second. He's scared and doesn't even think twice before deciding to clean up the mess he made. Everyone at school knew what the main character was like, so the bully just wiped down the desk quietly, not saying a word. After that, he points out the guys who were giving the new girl a hard time, and makes it clear they should go say sorry to her. Everyone else in the class freezes up, nerves kicking in. Nobody wants trouble, so they all get ready to apologize. One after another, the guys lower their heads and say sorry to the girl. They all make it clear they won't mess with her anymore. The white-haired girl nodded at the two guys, clearly grateful for what they'd done. She seemed relieved, like a weight had been lifted now that she wasn't alone in that tough situation. His friend just rushed it off like it was no big deal, but after that, she started making an effort to get to know her better. Whenever she grabbed something good to eat, she'd share it with her new friend, and always made sure to include the main guy too. The new girl looks unsure about joining in, and she doesn't take the snack right away. She hangs back for a moment, kind of sizing up the situation, like she's not quite ready to jump in yet. She wonders if the others are grossed out by how she smells. For as long as she could remember, the girl felt like she never really fit in. She was used to being on her own, always on the outside looking in. But now, with someone finally sticking by her, it almost didn't feel real, like something out of a dream. When his friend lets her know it's all real and not just a dream, she gets even more worked up, emotions hitting her all at once. His friend got it. She understood what it was like, and because of that, she couldn't bring herself to judge or look down on her. The new girl stood there a little unsure, but the hero's friend smiled and reached out to her. She wanted the new girl to feel welcome, like she was already part of the group. The hero watched, thinking how cool it was to have friends who made everyone feel included. Out of nowhere, the girl with the long hair walked right up and wrapped her arms around his friend. He can't help but tear up, smiling as she wipes her eyes. The happiness is obvious on her face. She's really grateful for her new friends, and it shows. She keeps crying, but then something clicks in her mind. There's something really important she needs to let them know. Even with the tears, she can't forget. The girl thought about how they had shared their snacks with her earlier. Wanting to do something nice back, she decided she should give them something too. She hands over a pair of beast fangs she got for her birthday, hoping the guys will think they're cool. The necklace with the fangs gets passed over, showing that these two have just become friends. The three of them hang out, enjoying their time and the start of something new. They're all smiles, joking around, and it just feels right, like they found people who get them. Deep down, each one hopes this friendship sticks, and that the good times last a long time. She always figured their friendship was unbreakable, like nothing could mess it up. But then, out of nowhere, something happened that she never saw coming. He checks out the news for himself, and spots the new girl actually filling out some transfer forms. The boy leans in and takes a quick look through the doorway of the principal's office. Inside, he spots the girl sitting with some guy who looks part machine, busy going through a stack of papers. Now he knows for sure isn't just some regular guy. There's definitely more going on with him than he first thought. After that day, the girls stopped showing up, and the guys at MNC just went back to their usual routines. She slowly faded out of their lives, turning into one of those memories from when they were kids. Something you think about once in a while, but mostly just leave in the past. But what really got his attention was everything that happened after she left. When he got home, the boy handed his mom a message. She looked relieved, like a weight had been lifted after a long day at work. Thanks to his skill, a message popped up for him. At the same time, he noticed a news report on TV talking about the prodigy from Kyoto. When he was only 10, the kid on TV went through some kind of gene experiment, and after that, he picked up this huge boulder with just one hand like it was nothing. Right then, his dad walked in and started grumbling about how this guy always seems to be popping up on TV. The boy listens as his parents have a serious conversation with the man. The guy starts explaining that the boy's family, known for their martial arts, actually has some pretty advanced tech hidden away. It's not something you'd expect from a family like theirs, and the boy can't help but feel surprised by what he's hearing. At just 8 years old, the main character already knows he can lift 300 kilograms on his own. No special tricks or powers needed. After seeing what he could actually do, he started to think maybe he was capable of more than he thought. That idea stuck with him, and he felt more sure about where he was headed. Then, his confidence disappears the moment he sees a breaking news alert about a beast attack happening in a country nearby. The news on TV reports that giant rats tore through the city, leaving everything red. Right in the middle of the Taos, one of the giant rats grabs a woman. Things are looking bad for her, and it seems like she's not going to make it. The creature slammed its huge jaws together, leaving the woman with no way out. The news switched over to a politician who looked desperate. He was asking for help and pointing the finger at some cult, saying they were the reason behind the beast attack. The guy feels pretty lucky to live somewhere safe, where he doesn't have to worry all the time. It's a good feeling, knowing he can just focus on growing up, hanging out, and figuring out life without looking over his shoulder. Out of nowhere, he catches a weird noise. His eyes snap open, surprised. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoes through the air, catching everyone off guard. Right away, the young hero tenses up, his senses sharp as he tries to figure out what's going on. The MC doesn't hesitate. He heads straight for the window, wanting to find out what just went down. When he arrives, he slowly pulls the curtain aside and checks out what's going on outside. He looks out the window and spots a bunch of cyborgs flying past. It's weird to see so many at once, and he can't help but wonder what's going on. The next morning rolls around, and everything seems normal again. He grabs his stuff and heads out for school, just like any other day. He shows up and his friend's already there, clearly annoyed because he's late for class again. He glances over at her and spots something weird glowing. He walks over and notices the beast fan gave her is glowing really bright. He finally gets it. The weird vibe around the girl was all because of that monster tooth she had. The light disappears pretty quickly, but he can't stop replaying everything that happened last night in his head. The guys are just making their way down the street when a tall woman suddenly steps out in front of them. She looks kind of mysterious, and it catches them off guard. The red-haired woman smiled, looking at the kids with a warm expression. She seemed to think they were really cute, almost like she couldn't help but be charmed by them. The woman looked at the two of them and tried to figure out if they were related or maybe dating. His friend just smiles and explains that they've known each other since they were kids. The woman looks at them, grinning in a way that almost feels sly. She watches the two friends joking around and hanging out together, and anyone could tell she wishes she had something like that too. She notices they're walking by themselves and starts looking around, wondering where their parents might be. Right when the girl was about to say something, the main guy reached out and grabbed her hand, stopping her before she could get any words out. He grabs her hand and hurries down the street, making it clear they're running behind and need to get to school fast. When they got to the schoolyard, the guy nudged his friend, quietly letting him know to stay away from people he didn't know. The school day finally ends, and the two boys grab their stuff and walk home side by side. His friend walks through the alley, glancing around and feeling uneasy. There's barely a sound, and the place just gives him the creeps. He points out that the place is empty because it's set to be torn down soon, so nobody really hangs out there anymore. Out of nowhere, they hear a voice they recognize. It's that same woman they saw before showing up again. The red-haired woman stood there, waiting. As soon as she spotted them, it was clear she knew exactly who they were. He couldn't believe it. He thought he'd lost her by slipping down a side street, but somehow she was still right behind him. It didn't make sense, and he started to wonder if she knew the area even better than he did. Big, muscular guy showed up behind the woman. She waved them over, letting them know they could come eat at her place. The big guy couldn't hold it in anymore. He rushed at the two of them, trying to grab them before they could react. The guy looked like he couldn't wait to get rid of the stuff. He rushed over and tried to grab them fast, barely giving anyone a chance to react. RMC stands his ground, ready to throw down. He doesn't even flinch. There's not a hint of fear on his face. He steps forward and swings his fist fast, landing a solid punch right at the big guy. The punch hits the henchman right where it hurts most, and he doubles over, struggling to catch his breath. The hit knocks the man off his feet and he goes flying. The woman just stands there, frozen, not believing what she just saw. She stares in disbelief as her partner hits the ground, completely out cold from just one hit, all thanks to a student. The kid doesn't hesitate. He charges at the woman, fist pulled back, ready to throw a punch before she can react. He swings at her, landing a heavy blow right to her face. After knocking both of them to the ground, the young guy spots a brick lying nearby. He picks it up, ready to make sure they stay down. He looks around and realizes there aren't any cameras watching. Figuring this is his chance, he decides it's time to get rid of them for good. Out of nowhere, the ground begins to tremble beneath their feet. His friend looks around, confused and unsure about what's going on. Right then, a massive claw smashed straight through the wall. Between the buildings, a huge rat suddenly shows up and lets out a loud roar. The creature leans in, opening its huge jaw right next to the woman, ready to bite. The creature moves fast, sinking its teeth in before anyone can react. The woman doesn't even get a chance to fight back. Just like that, she's gone, and the creature doesn't even pause. His friend stands frozen, staring up at the huge thing blocking their path. He can't believe what he's seeing and looks over, hoping for some kind of answer. The main guy pulled up to grab his friend, and as she got in, he let her know about the huge, mean rat they were dealing with. He told them it was time to run, and if they wanted to make it out, they had to move fast. A cyborg wearing red armor drops down from the sky, landing in front of everyone. The cyborg steps forward, putting herself between the group and the massive monster. She stands her ground, ready to shield them from whatever's coming next. The guy just stands there, frozen, as the woman floats right in front of the monster. The heroine doesn't wait around. She gets straight to it, pulling energy into her hand and powering up for a big attack. She raises her weapon, locking her sights on the creature. She gets ready to unleash her special move, focusing all her energy into this one shot. She launches a bunch of shots straight at the giant monster. The projectiles slammed right into the creature, setting off a huge explosion that lit up the whole alley. She spun around quickly and launched a bunch of energy blasts. The giant monster takes the full force of the attack straight to its face. Even though the creature's hurt, it refuses to give up. Its many eyes lock onto the cyborg, all of them burning with anger. The heroine doesn't slow down. She hits the monster again, not giving it any chance to recover. A few days passed, and he found himself watching the news again. Seeing how long it took the cyborg to finish the fight, he started thinking that maybe she wasn't as tough as everyone thought. He remembers how risky it was dealing with those giant rats and feels relieved he made it out safely that day. Thinking about what he needs to do, he starts pushing himself harder in training. He focuses on doing more squats, stacking up points with every set. Time keeps moving, and before anyone realizes it, his friend's ninth birthday is here. Everyone's hanging out, having fun, and just enjoying the day together. Once the birthday candles are blown out and everyone's finished making wishes, the main guy hands his childhood friend a present. She's really happy with the hair clip he made for her. When he gives it to her, she smiles at him, looking genuinely grateful. Time goes by, guy, and after finishing middle school, the guy can't help but look forward to what's coming next. Everything feels new, and he's ready to see what high school is all about. He wants to get stronger as soon as possible, so he keeps working out without taking breaks. Every day, he does push-ups with a huge boulder on his back, not letting up for even a second. After putting in so much hard work, he finally makes it to the 3rd level. He can feel his body getting stronger. He's faster, his moves are sharper, and everything just seems easier now. He sits in front of the TV, his mind drifting to the prodigy from Kyoto. He can't help but think about how far that guy must have gotten by now. The 14-year-old kid pulls off something wild, lifting 2,000 kilograms like it's no big deal. Most people would have been blown away, but the main guy just watches, knowing deep down he's still got the edge. He starts to get hyped just thinking about how much stronger he could get after getting a gene fusion someday. The idea of leveling up like that really gets his imagination going. It was one of those perfect days, with the sun shining bright and not a single cloud in the sky. High school finally started, and because he was the best student around, a bunch of top schools sent him invitations. On registration day, the principal and teachers greet him, looking pretty hopeful about what he might do in the future. All he really wants is to just hang out and have a good time with his friend. His friend lights up with excitement and waves him over, ready to kick off the game they've been talking about. He steps up and sends the birdie flying with her own signature move, the fairy curveball. Just as they're getting into the game, someone suddenly steps in and grabs the birdie right out of the air. Right at that moment, an older student walked over and let everyone know the court was for only. The goons crowd around the girl who's offering private lessons, but she isn't interested and shuts them down right away. When he saw what was happening, our hero got annoyed. He stepped up and let the bullies know they needed to leave his friend alone, and he wasn't messing around. The upperclassman just stands there with a cocky grin, acting like he owns the place. He doesn't care about who showed up first. He's already decided the court belongs to him now. The guy reached out, grabbed the birdie, and got ready to make sure the other dude was paying attention. He throws the birdie way up into the air. He jumps up, aiming to hit the birdie hard and make it clear he's not messing around. He jumps up and swings the racket as hard as he can, smashing it right into the birdie. Sane Force saw the birdie zooming right at him. The birdie rockets across the court, way faster than anyone expected, and blasts straight through the bully's racket like it's nothing. The bullies freeze up, eyes wide and faces pale. None of them can believe what they're seeing, and for a second they start to question if the guy standing in front of them is even a regular person. They're totally freaked out, so they bow real quick, mumble an apology, and rush off the court as fast as they can, not even daring to look behind them. Since that day, everyone at school kept their distance from him. Nobody tried to pick on him or start trouble through the rest of high school. He'd already gone through all the school stuff, so now he just sat in class flipping through books he actually liked. He spent his free time at home messing around on his computer, picking up new skills whenever he could. He worked hard to win every championship and made sure his grades were always the best. He did whatever it took to earn that title. He started getting a bunch of fans after that, but he still hadn't reached that top-tier status. The big shot label just wasn't his yet. He tuned out the girls around him and put all his attention on helping his friend. At the festival, he takes part in 3 different events. When it's time for the shot put, he steps up and manages to throw a 201 meters. He picked 3 events that would let everyone see how strong he was, how high he could jump, and how fast he could run. The main character understood that if he could come out on top in these 3 events, the whole sports competition would basically be his. He didn't even try that hard, just making sure he didn't go overboard, but still ended up in first place without breaking a sweat. But out of nowhere, he noticed something strange happening inside him. It wasn't the usual rush from excitement or nerves. This felt different, like a new kind of strength waking up in his body. After showing everyone who's boss, the system gives him a reward. That's when he finally earns the title of high school top dog. As he walked through the school entrance, he couldn't help but wonder if the energy from living things around him could actually help him get stronger. He suddenly stops in his tracks, like something important just popped into his head. He walked over to her and let her know he needed her beast tooth for a moment. He doesn't even pause before giving him the necklace with the tooth attached. As soon as he grabs the beast's tooth, something weird starts happening to the guy. Suddenly, a system screen appears in front of him, showing that he's just absorbed the essence of an abyssal giant butterfly. He stares at the screen, barely able to process what just happened. It's not every day something this wild shows up, and for a moment he just stands there trying to wrap his head around it. At night, once he was back in his room, he grabbed his phone and started scrolling online, hoping to dig up something about that weird creature he saw earlier. He scrolls through the search results, but nothing comes up about the show called Butterfly. Not a single mention, post, or even an old fan page. It's like the show never existed at all. He realizes searching online isn't helping, so he figures he'll have to check out the beast himself and find another way. He suddenly remembers the 2 beast teeth gave him. Not wanting to lose them, he heads off to find where he put them. He picks up the object again, and suddenly this purple energy starts swirling around him. He checks the system and notices the progress bar has bumped up to 2%. The main character felt pretty annoyed with how things turned out. He figured he'd have to collect more essence if he wanted to unlock the creature's guy. The next day rolls around, and the guy is pedaling his bike with his friend riding on the back. It's not just for fun. They're treating it like practice, just in case they ever have to get away fast if mutants show up. Out of nowhere, someone calls his name. He hits the brakes and looks around, trying to spot who's calling him. The guy standing at the front said he was the coach for the martial arts team. He'd noticed how well the student did in the last school school sports event and seemed pretty impressed. The coach looks over at him and decides to give him a shot on the martial arts team. The man keeps pushing, trying to show off how good he is at sports. He really wants to be picked and practically pleads to get a spot on the team. The man walks away and the guy just stands there, realizing he never even got to say no. As the sun started to set, the city looked awesome. The sky had this orange glow and the buildings were catching the last bit of sunlight. Everything seemed calm, like the whole place was just taking a breath before the night kicked in. The main guy just crushed a bug in his hand. He notices that the predator's skill didn't kick in when he got rid of the bug. He starts thinking about his question and figures he needs to check things out somewhere different, so he heads outside to put his idea to the test. He grabs his bike, wanting to get there as quickly as possible. He wants to see if he's right, so he heads out to the supermarket with his friend, the one that sells beast meat. Not long after, they pull up to a big supermarket right in the middle of the city. He steps inside and quickly figures out there's no way to try out his idea. All the beast meat is already packed up, so there's nothing he can really do. Out of nowhere, he hears someone calling out about fresh beast meat for sale. The guy notices a butcher right in front of him, slicing up some fresh meat. He tells his friend to hang back for a second, and jogs over to get a better look at the meetup happening nearby. The girl looks pretty lost, not really sure what's going on. The guy doesn't bother to clear things up for her at all. Instead, he just moves in fast, reaching out to check out the meat himself. He hesitated for a second, staring down at the meat. The answers he'd been looking for were right there, and he couldn't ignore it any longer. Slowly, he reached out, needing to know for sure if his hunch was actually right. As soon as he touches it, purple energy shows up. The young guy realizes right away that this beast meat actually holds some serious life force. The guy couldn't hide how pumped he was, grinning as he pumped his fist in the air. His friend looked over, kind of confused, trying to figure out why someone would get this hype just from touching a piece of meat. The girl wanted to know what it was like, and wondered if it felt any different from a regular. He says it's just fresher, and even lets her know she can check it out if she wants, but she's not interested and turns him down. He figured since they were already at the store, they could just grab some and see how it tastes later at home. He spots the look on his friend's face and gets it. Beast meat costs way more than most people expect. The prices are no joke. The phantom squid was the cheapest option, but it still cost nearly $1,000 each. He looked at the price, thought about it for a second, and went with that one. His friends start to look uneasy about how much it costs, and thinks he should probably check with his aunt before spending the money. The main guy stays chill and just pats her on the head, letting her know everything's fine. He makes up a story, telling them his mom wanted him to pick up a bunch to take back home. He remembers his mom mentioning how it'd be a good idea to bring it over to his friend's house and turn it into a big meal for everyone. He figures if he tries to take the essence out right there, he could mess up the meat, so he just goes straight to the checkout. He pays for his stuff, the cashier nods, and as he walks out, he can't help but think about how much cash he just dropped on that. It was late at night and things were starting to get a bit sketchy, so they decided to head straight home where it was safe. It's nighttime, and after a crazy day, the guy is riding his bike, giving his friend a lift home. He realizes that taking a bite of the meat barely made a difference. It's like he's only unlocked a tiny bit of the squid illustration, not even close to seeing the whole thing. Things got even more annoying when he realized this was the cheapest beast meat he could find at the market. He realizes he needs to come up with his own way to earn some cash, since asking his parents isn't an option. Right then, he suddenly remembers why he even bought the meat in the first place. It was just to see if it would go bad. He looks over at his bike's basket and realizes it's been a while. The meat inside is starting to glow. He's pretty pumped since the meat looks top-notch, and the system says he's made 3% progress. His friend suddenly freaks out, pointing straight ahead. There's someone standing right in their way. The main guy spots trouble ahead and instantly hits the brakes as hard as he can, trying his best to stop before anything bad happens. He nearly crashes into a couple on the sidewalk, barely managing to swerve out of the way. He quickly mutters an apology, trying to steady his bike and keep moving before things get more awkward. Our MC couldn't stop thinking about how he got too caught up in absorbing energy. He kept replaying it in his mind, annoyed with himself. Up ahead, his friend suddenly pointed at something, snapping him out of his thoughts. Up ahead, they spot a big guy gripping a woman tight, holding a knife right up to her neck. The cops had already shown up. They stood a safe distance away, keeping their eyes on the guy holding the weapon, trying to get him to chill out and put it down. The officer could tell right away that the guy wasn't messing around. He looked like he knew exactly what he was doing, and it was clear that taking a shot without thinking could end up hurting the hostage. The captain quickly rejects the plan to use sleek gas. He figures it might just make the criminal angry before it even works. He bends down and grabs a small pebble off the ground, rolling it in his hand as he gets ready to do something. He snaps his finger and sends the pebble flying, hitting the bad guy dead on, fast and right where he aimed. The pebble smacked right into the guy's hand. He instantly lost his grip on both the knife and the person he was holding, and everything just dropped. The police captain sees his chance and signals his team to jump into action. The officers spot their chance and move fast. They jump in, grabbing the kidnapper and getting him on the ground. In just a few seconds, they've got him cuffed, making sure he can't get away. The guy tries to leave like nothing happened, but his friend stops him and wants to know if he was the one who tossed the pebble. Out of nowhere, the captain called everyone to a halt. He looked straight at the group and wanted to know if the kid was the one who had tossed the pebble. The main guy starts to get nervous. He tries to play it cool, forcing a smile and pretending nothing's wrong, even though it's pretty obvious he's not telling the whole truth. The officer stands there, watching as they walk away. He can't help but think it's weird. Most people like to get credit when they do something good, but this guy just left without saying much, and the officers left wondering why anyone would pass up a chance to be noticed for doing the right thing. The captain let everyone know there was a reward waiting for whoever helped out. When the guy hears someone mention a crew, his eyes light up, already thinking about all the cash he could make. He slams on the brakes so hard the bike almost hits, then spins around and heads straight back to the officer. He owns up to it, letting everyone know he took the money because right now he really needs it. After everything that happened, they made their way to the police station. This was the moment he was finally picking up his first paycheck, money he actually earned himself. Out of nowhere, the criminal begins to change right in front of everyone. His body twists and shifts, turning less human and more like something out of a nightmare. The guys watching can hardly believe what they're seeing as he becomes this full-on monster. The criminal suddenly changes shape, growing into a massive rat right in front of everyone. One of the officers points at him, saying he's not normal and that something weird is happening to his body. The creature goes straight for the attack, not even hesitating. With one powerful swipe, it knocks the female officer off her feet, sending her flying backward. The captain looked at the creature and gave his team the signal to start shooting. Everyone knew they had to watch out, making sure none of their shots hit people nearby. The team moved into position, keeping their focus on the target while checking for civilians in the area. The officers fire their guns at the monster, but nothing happens. The bullets just bounce off, so they quickly radio for backup. At the same time, the main character's friend doesn't seem to be dealing with everything going on. She looks pretty stressed out, almost like the chaos is getting to her more than anyone else. Our hero quickly pulls both of them along and takes off running. He's not wasting any time. Right now, getting out of there safely is all he cares about. He spots the monster and actually feels relieved. He starts thinking about how much power from the Rat King he could actually take in. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he figures the only way to know for sure is to try it out himself. He quietly moves his hand toward the monster and puts his fingers on its rough skin. As he does, he starts to drain its energy, pulling its life force into himself. He's hit with a rush of energy that catches him off guard. It's way more intense than anything he's felt before, and for a second, he can barely process how strong it is. Right at that moment, the system let him know he'd absorbed a bit of the essence. His progress tracking down the giant mutant rat bumped up to 5%. The guy tries to play it cool by stretching, acting like nothing's wrong. The cop, though, isn't having it and tells him to stop moving around so much in the car. At the police station, the captain looked at the kid, trying to figure out how he managed to nail the thug's hand with a rock from so far away. The whole thing didn't make sense to most people. Hitting a moving target like that wasn't easy. The kid sat there, not exactly comfortable, as the captain tried to piece together what happened. He says he's been focusing on training his right arm, but the officer doesn't believe him at all. Just then, his mom showed up with his friend's family to pick them up. He didn't see that coming at all, and it threw him off. The woman bolts toward her son, her face filled with panic. She can barely think straight, too caught up in fear for him. She pulls him into a tight hug, checking if he's alright. The guy reassures her, staying cool about it, letting her know he's totally fine. He even mentions he scored a reward just to lighten the mood. His mom looks at him, worried, and tells him he needs to stay out of trouble. She makes him promise that if something dangerous happens again, he has to find a safe place to hide, no matter what. She keeps talking, letting everyone know that all she really cares about is her son growing up alright. She just wants him to be safe, no injuries, nothing bad happening to him. That's all she hopes for. The guy decides he's got to look out for himself before anything else. He heads out with his mom, not looking back, while the captain just stands there watching everything happen. There are two female officers chatting about Colt, the so-called rat god. Lately, Colt has been acting up, sneaking into universities and causing trouble like he owns the place. The officers aren't thrilled about it, knowing Colt is getting braver and harder to deal with. The group starts talking about how they've got to deal with someone who calls himself the Rat King. The main guy happens to hear them, and right away, he gets interested. Back in the car, he grabs his phone and starts searching for the rat god cult. Turns out, there's a ton of stuff about them online. He finds out the cult's main base is right in Shanghai. Most of the people in it don't really fit in with the rest of society. They're kind of on the outside looking in. He keeps digging, scrolling through every bit of info he can find about this weird group. He reads everything, not wanting to miss a thing. Out of nowhere, something on the screen stands out to him. He stops in his tracks, staring at the words, trying to process what he just saw. For a second, his mind blanks. He honestly can't believe the Rat King had some big plans. He was trying to level up into something even stronger, and he wasn't doing it alone. His followers ran around gathering stuff he needed, all because he told them to. He starts to think about whether this creature is already smart enough to pull off complicated plans like this. He glances out the window and sees a giant rat outside. The sight gets him thinking, could this weird creature have something to do with the Rat King? He brushes the thought aside pretty fast, figuring that big rats like that aren't really rare around here. He looks over and sees his friend barely saying anything. It makes him pause, trying to figure out if something is bothering her. He glances down and notices her legs are wet. Right away, he thinks this might have happened before. When the girl gets nervous or scared, she can't help it. She ends up having an accident just like she did when she was little. He always had a hunch that this might have something to do with some hidden ability she had. When he got home, his mom saw the meat was missing and immediately wanted to know what happened to all the groceries. He comes up with a reason on the spot, telling everyone there was an emergency, and in all the confusion, he lost the meat. His mom just wants him to let it go. She cares more about the fact that he made it back okay and nothing bad happened to him. He finally relaxes, pretty sure his mom bought the story he made up. For now, he thinks he's in the clear. His dad heads for the door, planning to search for the meat, but the boy steps in and stops him. He tells his dad the food's already spoiled. The man stands there, not really understanding what just happened. Back at the station, the captain sat at his desk, still thinking about how a high school kid could throw a rock that hard. It just didn't make sense to him, and he kept replaying it in his mind, trying to figure out what he missed. He looked serious, trying to figure out what the guy just told him. Nothing about the story adds up, and it's clear he's not buying it. Out of nowhere, a huge rat showed up on top of the file cabinet, right in front of the officer. He froze, not expecting to see something like that. The creature suddenly jumped at the officer, claws stretched out and ready to strike. The captain doesn't hesitate. He quickly grabs his gun and shoots at the monster, squeezing off a few rounds without slowing down. The bullets didn't do much. The officer took a hard hit to the head, caught off guard by how massive the creature was. The next day in class, our hero slouched in his seat and let out a long sigh, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. He knows he's still not strong enough and needs cash to buy beast meat so he can get stronger quicker. He thinks about trying to become an influencer or maybe a private tutor, but drops the idea pretty quickly. He knows those kinds of jobs would put him in the spotlight, and that's the last thing he wants right now. Just then, something clicks in his mind. He thinks back and realizes he's been looking at the whole situation the wrong way. In a world where martial artists and cyborgs are just part of everyday life, the main guy looks around and realizes he can't just sit on the sidelines anymore. Everyone else is leveling up, so he figures it's about time he jumps in and starts making moves himself. The guy walks over to the school gym, hands shoved in his pockets, trying to act casual but looking around just in case someone's watching. The hallway is pretty empty, and he can hear his sneakers squeaking against the floor as he gets closer to the big double doors. When he arrives, he spots Coach Gu having a drink. The main guy heads over and gives the coach a nod. The coach looked over at, sizing him up. He seemed curious, probably wondering if was interested in signing up for the martial arts team. The main character wonders if being on the team might let him play in the city tournaments. He's got that hope in his eyes, thinking about what it would be like to actually compete on that bigger stage. The idea of showing what he's got in front of a real crowd definitely gets his heart racing a bit. The coach gets hyped and nods, letting everyone know the answer is yes. He also mentions the prizes aren't small, they're actually worth tens of thousands. Reaches out and shakes the coach's hand. From that moment, he knows he's officially on the team. The coach gathers everyone together and lets the team know that someone new is joining them. Each person in the group takes a turn sharing their name, and when it's his turn, the main guy does too. The coach could tell right away that this was the hero's first time in the gym, so he decided to keep it simple and started showing him how to throw a basic punch and how to kick properly. The hero watched closely, trying to copy the moves, feeling a bit awkward but curious about how it all worked. He points out how the moves seem pretty easy at first glance, but even the best student needed a whole week just to get them down. He steadies himself, squaring his shoulders and raising his fists like he's about to jump into a real match. He's focused, every muscle tense, just waiting for the right moment to make his move. Because of his skill, he picks up every move the coach shows right away. He starts pulling off every move just right, nailing each set without messing up. The coach just stands there, totally stunned. He doesn't know what to say or do, frozen in place as everything sinks in. The rest of the guys are pretty stunned that picked it all up so fast just by watching once. The coach stares at the scene, completely stunned. It hits him that this kid isn't just good. He's something special, the kind of martial artist you hardly ever see. At night, the city lights glowed against the dark sky. Tall buildings stood in the distance, and the streets below looked busy even though it was late. Everything felt a little quieter, but the city was still alive, with cars moving and people out and about. His mom called him into the kitchen for dinner. Heads straight for the kitchen, eager to find out what's on the menu for dinner. His mom tells him that it's the ghost squid, the one he's always wanted to try. The food smells amazing, and it instantly gets their stomachs rumbling. Just catching a whiff makes them really hungry. His mom reminds him to eat before his food gets cold. She looks over, checking to see if he's enjoying the food. He thinks nothing beats his mom's cooking. For him, her food is the best there is. While he eats, a notification pops up, letting him know he's taken in the squid's essence. That's when it hits him. Just eating the meat gets the job done too. There was a news story playing on TV about a girl who was only 14. She was already known as a genius, and now everyone was talking about her because she'd just become the youngest cyborg anyone had ever heard of. She's got this crazy strength. She can pick up stuff that weighs as much as a motorcycle, no sweat. And when she runs, she's insanely fast, covering 100 meters in just 4 seconds. He starts thinking about who would actually be stronger, people with crazy genetic powers or those who turn themselves into cyborgs. Just as the news plays, everything suddenly changes. The broadcast cuts to a serious report. The police captain has been found dead. He starts thinking about the giant rats he saw last night and can't help but worry that the streets might be getting more dangerous. He started thinking about everything that could go wrong, and that lit a fire under him. He knew it was time to train harder, push himself more, and get stronger. After putting in a lot of hard work and training, his 100-meter dash time dropped down to 4.61 seconds. His vertical leap got way better, now hitting 5.81 meters, and he's strong enough to lift 1,000 kilograms. He keeps working on his martial arts skills, hoping to get stronger each day. The school sits under a bright clear sky. Sunlight spills over the courtyard, making the building look almost inviting. It's the kind of day that makes everything seem a bit lighter, and even the usual buzz of students feels a little more chill as they head inside. That morning, the main guy heads out to school, ready to start another training session. Han tags along, sticking close as always. The senior girl with bright pink hair walked over and looked at, checking if he'd eaten breakfast yet. The girl hands him a bottle of fresh milk, a simple gift she brought for him. He shakes his head and keeps walking, leaving the older girl standing there as he heads off on his own. This guy totally loses it. First, took his championship title, and now he's actually turning down a gift from the girl everyone looks up to. That's just way too much for him to handle. The guy moves right in front of him, blocking the way forward. The guy starts scolding him for being disrespectful to her, but the main character just explains that he can't have milk because he's allergic. The bully isn't convinced and calls out, setting up a fight and throwing in a bet to make things interesting. The system pops up with a new challenge for the main guy. This time, he has to take down 1,000 different opponents. He flashes a confident grin, his presence alone making people step back as he steps up and takes on the challenge. Word about the fight gets around fast, and soon the girls at school are hurrying over, eager to catch the duel. Guys start pouring into the gym, all trying to get a good spot to watch what's about to go down. The place gets packed fast, everyone buzzing with excitement, ready to see the fight for themselves. One of the girls lets everyone know she's cheering for him. The pink-haired girl makes it clear she's rooting for the main guy. She also lets him know she's planning to snap a bunch of pictures of him. The bully starts to get irritated when he notices everyone around him acting like he's about to lose to some new kid. People are whispering and watching, and it's obvious they expect the newbie to win. The bully hates the attention and feels his pride getting poked. He tells himself there's no other option. He has to take down C now before the guy gets even tougher. He stands in front of his opponent, hoping this fight doesn't drag on. In the back of his mind, he's already thinking about dinner at home and wants to wrap things up fast. Will nods with a sly grin, ready to make it happen. Coach Go steps in, making sure everyone remembers that being friends matters more than anything else. Once he's said his piece, he gives the signal and the match kicks off. Right when things are about to kick off, the bully suddenly pauses and tells everyone to hold up. The guy decided to keep things fair, so he let our main character go first, giving him the first 3 moves. After all, he'd been training for 2 years already. Didn't even pause to think about the disadvantage. He just charged straight ahead. He steps forward and swings his right fist straight at the guy. He took the hit right to his face and got knocked off his feet, sent flying backward. The guy drops to the floor, totally out cold. Coach just sat there on the floor, trying to process what happened. He couldn't wrap his head around the fact that the fight was over after just 1 punch. The rest of the team just stands there, caught off guard. No one really knows what to do next, and a heavy silence hangs in the air. Everyone's faces show how much the situation has thrown them off. Throws his hands up, pumped about the big win. He grins, soaking in the moment and feeling proud of how things turned out. The older girls in the crowd started clapping and hyping up, clearly impressed by what he just did. They couldn't help but show him some love for pulling it off. The system lets him know he's beaten a rival and caught the attention of some girls. Still, he's got a long way to go. There are 999 more challenges waiting for him. The guy notices the perfect moment and decides to call over the older students for a quick game. The seniors aren't having it. That invitation has them looking for any way out, tossing around lame excuses and hoping someone else will step up first. None of them want to go through with it, and you can see them trying to dodge it however they can. They start coming up with reasons to get out of the fight, saying they need to study, head home for dinner, or that they're not feeling well. The guy who got knocked out slowly gets back on his feet, looking pretty annoyed. He points at the hero like he's trying to call him out for playing dirty, not ready to admit he lost fair and square. The coach isn't happy and calls him out, telling him to deal with the loss and move on. But while everyone else is moving on, he's stuck thinking about, wondering just how strong that guy really is and what would happen if he put him to the test. The coach looked around and then called on another guy from the team to step up and go against the main character. The chosen one looks pretty desperate, but he still gets ready to fight. Even though he's trying to act tough, anyone could tell he really doesn't want to mess up his face. About 10 minutes later, every senior is sprawled out on the floor, totally worn out. He figures out that just the first fight mattered for the mission. All the other friendly matches didn't count at all. The coach walks over, clearly pumped up, and gives some serious props. In just a month, it's already turned into the team's top player. With joining the team, everyone at Shanghai High starts to believe they've got a real shot at taking down the other schools and grabbing the trophy at this year's regional tournament. He figures out the tournament is the best shot he's got to take down a bunch of rivals at once. He starts to get hyped, realizing that if he beats everyone in the competition, they'll help him move forward with his mission. He hears someone calling out to him, walked over looking a bit tired. He finally gave in and accepted that the main guy was stronger, no more doubts about it. Nobody could believe what just did. The way he announced himself made everyone uncomfortable, and some people even looked away, not wanting to watch anymore. The whole room felt tense, and it was clear nobody liked what just happened. He looks around and notices the place is empty. Everyone else took off, and now he's standing there by himself. The main guy is out on the track, running alongside Han. Once they finished their 3,000-meter run, the group moved straight into martial arts practice. They spent the next hour going through different moves and drills, sweating it out together. Everyone was tired, but no one wanted to be the first to slow down. They get down and start doing sit-ups and push-ups, trying to get stronger and last longer during training. Keeps pushing through the tough training, not slowing down even though he's tired. He's focused, sweating, and determined to get stronger, no matter how hard it gets. After every training session, gives a quick massage to help her muscles relax. He puts in serious hours at the gym, pushing himself harder every day. He's got his eyes on the tournament and wants to figure out his power fast, so he doesn't waste a single minute. A month passes, and the tournament everyone's been waiting for is finally here. The city's huge gym is buzzing with excitement, every seat filled as the tournament is just about to kick off. Fans are everywhere, waiting to see what's going to happen next. Coach Go sat in the waiting area, feeling tense. The team they were about to go up against was known for being the best, and it weighed heavily on his mind. He couldn't help but fidget a little, glancing around and trying to keep calm, but the pressure was real. The team could tell they were in trouble. The other side had this insanely fast guy, and everybody knew it. No one really wanted to admit it out loud, but some of them were already thinking the game might be over before it even started. Right then, puts his hand up. He's the first to step forward, ready to take on the fight. The coach thinks it's a good plan, and picks the main guy to go up first. The guys and the coach get hyped and start cheering, their energy filling up the whole space. His opponent slammed his foot down on the ground. Big dude showed up. He noticed his name on the tournament list and gave him props for signing up. He just rolls his eyes, clearly not taking the idea seriously. In his mind, there's no way a short freshman like him should even think about stepping into the ring. The brute starts flexing, making a big deal about how much bigger and stronger he is then. He looks pretty full of himself, clearly trying to prove a point. The referee raises his hand, and just like that, the duel kicks off. The giant opponent rushed straight toward, not holding anything back. The big guy went in for an attack, thinking he had it in the bag, but the protagonist moved out of the way without breaking a sweat, catching the big guy off guard. He's a chance and goes for it, slamming his open hand right into the guy's chest. The palm strike hits hard, so hard that the big guy gets launched backward and drops to the ground, completely out cold. The referee looks surprised as he points to, making it clear to everyone that just won. He throws his hands up, grinning like he just hit a game-winning shot. He can't help but jump around, barely able to stand still as everyone around him joins in, slapping his back and messing up his hair. The win feels unreal, and for a second, nothing else matters. The whole team loses it when they pull off such a huge win. Everybody's high-fiving, jumping around, and just soaking in the excitement. It's like all the hard work finally paid off, and you can see how pumped they are, grinning and hyped up together. At the same time, the other team's coach wasn't happy with the big guy. He called him out for being stiff and not moving his feet the way he was supposed to. The coach looked frustrated, probably thinking the guy could do way better if he loosened up and paid more attention to his footwork. He sees a system notification pop up, letting him know he just beat another rival and moved up in the tournament rankings. The other coach looked around and pointed at a guy named. He wanted to take out the main character fast, no messing around. Walks into the arena, getting into position and ready to fight. The referee raised his hand and signaled for the match to begin again. Charges at throwing out a bunch of quick hits one after another. The hero moves fast, slipping past every punch that comes his way. He doesn't just avoid getting hit, he's quick enough to land another palm strike right into his side. Palm strike steps up and knocks another guy right out of the arena, sending him spinning through the air. He crashes to the ground, already out cold. Paramedics hurry over and carefully help him up, noticing right away that he might have banged his head pretty badly. Without wasting any time, they get him onto a stretcher and start moving quickly toward the ambulance, knowing he needs to get checked out at the hospital. Nobody in the crowd really gets what's going on, and everyone starts talking quietly, wondering how managed to pull that off. The other team's coach starts to notice what's really going on. It's not just luck, actually knows what he's doing. The coach can tell that's got real talent, and it's clear he's not just some random player who got lucky this time. The other coach looks over the players and chooses, making it clear that defense is his top priority. Losing just isn't an option for him right now. Stays calm and shrugs off any doubts. He looks sure of himself, like he's got everything under control and already sees himself coming out on top. He figures isn't actually that strong and just relies on sneaky moves to win. Since he's got more experience and speed on his side, he's pretty sure he'll end up winning this time. Everyone in the crowd starts buzzing when they hear about his insane speed. They can't help but think that the main guy might be in real danger this time. The ref signals that it's time to start the duel. Moves fast, closing the gap between him and the main guy. He throws a quick punch, not holding back at all. He goes in with a rapid-fire punching move. He calls the rock raking water flow fist. The coach looks really angry. He glares at the field, clearly annoyed that someone ignored his instructions. Instead of defending like he said, the player charged forward, and the coach can't believe it. You can almost feel how frustrated he is, watching his game plan fall apart right in front of him. The hero watched the fist move closely, thinking it looked pretty cool. He figured it was worth picking up, so he made up his mind to learn it. Meanwhile, just shrugged, acting like defense wasn't really important if you were a genius. Frustration starts to build with every missed punch. No matter how hard he tries, he just can't land a hit on. It's obvious he's starting to get desperate. His movement's getting a little wild as he pushes himself harder, but nothing seems to work. He starts shouting, confused about how keeps dodging every move. Meanwhile, just looks back at him, kind of messing with him, like he's waiting to see if the guy has anything else to try. Felt irritated by the teasing, so he went all in. He tightened his stance and threw his punch technique again, putting all his energy behind it. Already lost interest, he decides it's time to finish things and nails with a kick that hits right on target. Everyone in the crowd just stands there, staring with wide eyes. No one can believe what they're seeing. The guys on the team cheered as they pulled off their third win in a row. go. Everyone was pumped, sharing high fives and grins, happy to see their hard work paying off. The next group they faced turned out to be even less challenging than the previous team. The main guy took down all 5 players from the Shanghai team by himself. Over the next couple of days, he went out and handled 2 more schools on his own, stepped up for his team and pulled off the win. After all their effort, they finally took first place in the 8th school tournament. Everyone was pumped, and the team couldn't help but feel proud. The system lets him know he's already taken out 16 rivals so far. Even with that, he realizes there's still a long way to go before he can finish the mission. Coach caught everyone off guard when he passed the biggest chunk of the prize money to him, $20,000 just like that. Can barely believe it. After winning this and adding in what he got from other contests, he's finally managed to save up 30,000 yuan. The money disappeared fast because he used it all to buy special food for his training. At dinner, he loads up his plate with a ton of squid meat. As he digs in, his codex progress bumps up to 33%. By his second year, he's already lifting over 1,000 kilos, jumping 5 meters without breaking a sweat, and sprinting 100 meters in just 4 seconds. Time went by, and before they knew it, both the main guy and finished middle school and moved on. Felt down when she saw her martial arts scores. They just weren't enough to get her into the elite class, and it hit her hard. She couldn't figure out how this happened, especially after all the effort she put into training. Meanwhile, didn't say anything, just kept quiet. The girl gets more upset when she finds out the principal is coming to her house. She starts thinking the principal just wants to convince her to leave the school, and that idea makes her feel even worse. He reassures her, letting her know he'll only stick around at school if she's in his class too. Remembers how the principal showed up at her place and stayed for hours, talking things through with her family. The woman stands up, letting everyone know the conversation's over. They've covered everything that needed to be said. She lets know he can ask for whatever he wants, but only if he's cool with joining their school. He thanked her, then asked if his friend could stay in his class. That was the only thing he wanted right now. The principal looks right at Han Han, checking if her real name is Shen. Han Han starts to get nervous under his stare, fidgeting a little as she wonders if she's in trouble. The principal nodded and decided they should both start at Shanghai High when school begins. The 2 friends can hardly believe their luck. Grins spread across their faces as they look at each other, excitement bubbling up inside. They nod at the principal, grateful for the good news, and try not to look too goofy as they head out together. Once again, the main guy scored another win for his school in the martial arts championship. He walked off the mat, still catching his breath, while his teammates clapped him on the back. The crowd cheered, and he could feel everyone's eyes on him. Even though he'd done this before, it still felt pretty awesome. He takes the prize money and finally does what he'd been hoping to do all along. He heads into the forest, checking his squid codex, which is already at 80%. With the cash he saved up, he bought extra meat, hoping it'll be enough to finish maxing it out. He gets a notification from the system saying he's just taken in a ton of squid essence. Right after that, a blue glow starts spreading from his body. At that moment, the Phantom Shadow Squid Codex finally hit 100%. He managed to unlock the codex and gain the Liquid Affinity blessing. He looks let down since he thought it would be way cooler than this. He tries out his new power in a pond nearby. While he's underwater, he notices his skin stays smooth, not wrinkling like it usually does. Swimming feels a lot easier too, like he's gliding through the water. Other than that, nothing else really happens. He thinks about how the squid's supposed to be weak anyway, so maybe he shouldn't have expected anything special. Still, he can't help but wish its stats turned out better. He could also just wait until he's tough enough to go after those wild mutant creatures, take them down, and get stronger by eating them. He tightens his fist, his mind set on getting stronger than ever. With less than a week left before school was back in session, and his families planned a beach trip together. As soon as stepped into the water, he noticed how cold it was and started grumbling about it. Tries to calm her down, letting her know that things are always weird at the beginning, but she'll get the hang of it. After that, he dives in and starts swimming around, showing off what he can do with his new skill. The girl lets him know she doesn't want him swimming by himself. She admits she doesn't really know how to swim and wants him to show her. He suddenly remembers his friend still doesn't know how to swim. He starts showing how to do it, but in his head, he doubts she'll pick it up fast since she's just okay at sports. He watched as the girl picked up swimming way faster than he expected. She barely hesitated before figuring out how to stay afloat, and in no time, she was moving through the water like she'd done it before. Doesn't hesitate, he just launches himself straight into the water. She can't believe it. Suddenly, she's able to dive right in and see everything underwater with her eyes wide open. No stinging or anything. Out of nowhere, she sits up fast and catches the main guy off guard. She thinks it's pretty cool how she can open her eyes underwater without any problems. For her, it actually feels really good. Thinks it's weird how fast she picked up swimming. He stands there, lost in thought, still trying to figure out how she managed it. Out of nowhere, he notices something he hadn't caught before, and it throws him off. The thought pops into his head, and just for a second, it feels like everything's up in the air. He stays by the edge of the pool, keeping his eyes on her as she swims back and forth. Starts thinking about and remembers how she used to wet the bed when they were kids. He can't help but wonder if it's because she's always kind of had this connection to water, like it's just a part of who she is. The main character starts getting pumped, thinking she might have some kind of rare power, like the heroes in those stories she loves. Just the idea of it makes her heart race, and she can't help but imagine what it'd be like if that was really true for her. Keeps diving, showing off skills that didn't expect. Each move makes even more surprised, realizing he's got way more talent than he thought. They keep holding their breath, going past 10 minutes, which is pretty wild. Even most trained people can't pull that off. He swims along calmly, not a care in the world. Out of nowhere, heard a weird noise rippling through the water. It caught his attention right away, and he couldn't help but wonder what it was. Hears the sound as well, so he heads up to the surface, swimming quickly. They come up to the surface and grab a quick breath. Back on the beach, she looks around, trying to figure out what just went down. She tells him she started hearing weird noises, and it freaked her out. She heard a woman's voice underwater, talking in some language she didn't get. The voice faded away as soon as she came up for air. Could see she was freaking out, so he brought her back to the hotel. He grabbed his phone, trying to look up anything that matched what she'd said, but nothing useful came up. He couldn't fall asleep, so he got up and started training. He pushed himself to do 1,000 sit-ups just to tire himself out. The system let him know his body had leveled up again. He'd hit the 5th common stage. Now he was actually strong enough to go up against a grown mutant rat. After leveling up, he heads to the beach to see what he can do now. He sprints down the sand, hitting 100 meters in just 3.64 seconds, way faster than before. Now his vertical jump almost hits 7 meters. Now the main guy has gotten strong enough to pick up a car that weighs about 1,600 kilos, just using one hand. With things finally moving forward, he starts his high school life with Han right by his side. Some of the girls in class noticed right away. They thought he looked good and seemed pretty happy that they'd get to spend the year in the same room as him. He didn't expect much from this class assignment, but suddenly it kicked off a new mission for him. Now he had to finish 1,000 different tasks if he wanted to unlock a new skill. School was pretty chill that day, so he figured it was a good time to swing by the supermarket. With the Squid Codex finally unlocked, it was time to pick the next target for DVAR. He checks out the meat options and can't help but double-take. There's way more variety than he expected, and it catches him off guard. He comes across a package packed with meat from a wild giant eagle. The hero grins, feeling pretty good about himself. He looks at what's in front of him and makes up his mind. This is what he's going with next. This wild giant eagle stands out as a mutant beast, bigger and tougher than the last one faced. This creature can see things way better than any regular person. Its eyesight is about 30 times stronger than what humans have. This creature knows how to hunt like a pro. Even those speedy mutant rabbits don't stand a chance. If it goes after them, it catches them every time. Thanks to its sharp eyesight, it really boosts fighting skills, so unlocking its codex is definitely worth it. The system let everyone know that the main character had absorbed a tiny bit of the giant eagle's power, and now his codex showed just 1% progress. Figures out that unlocking each 1% of the codex is going to cost him 200,000 yuan. That means if he wants the whole thing, it's going to take a crazy amount of cash. He starts thinking about how high school is going to be even tougher, and that if he wants to win prize money in tournaments, he's really going to have to step up his game. Summer break came to an end, and started his first day at his new high school, Shanghai. On the first day, the teachers walked in and told everyone who they were. They talked about what they'd be teaching, giving the guys in class a quick idea of what to expect this year. Stepped forward and let everyone know a bit about herself. She mentioned she liked to spend time on chess, and enjoyed both calligraphy and painting. Not long after, another girl showed up. Her name was. She let everyone know she was into anime and liked to dress up as her favorite characters. Peng Ho was the kind of guy who preferred chilling at home. He was into video games, spending most of his free time in front of his screen. That was just how he liked it, simple and low-key, with no need for big adventures outside. Now it was Han-Han's turn to go up front and say something about herself. As she stood there, she could feel everyone's eyes on her. The crowd made her tense up, her hands fidgeting a bit. It was pretty clear she was getting nervous with that many people staring, and she struggled to keep calm. Jen steps up, clearly nervous, barely making eye contact. She tells everyone her name and mentions that she enjoys drawing. When it was turn, he kept it super short. Out of everyone, his intro was the quickest, and he just said the basics without going into any details. Once everyone finished saying their names, the bell went off. As the classroom started to clear out, a girl walked up to, looking like she wanted to talk. One of the guys in class wanted to know Han-Han's entrance exam score. As soon as he asked, Han-Han's friend started to tense up, clearly uneasy about how Han-Han would react or what the answer might be. Annan told that she scored 709 points, then turned the conversation to him, wanting to know how he did on the test. Didn't expect it at all. Han-Han's score turned out to be over 10 points higher than hers. That caught her off guard. She brought up the physical test next, kind of embarrassed about her score. She only managed to get 95 points, and it was clear she wasn't too happy about it. It's a little uneasy as she admits her score was 79. She's still 21 points away from getting a perfect score, and it's clear she's not totally happy about it. The classmate wouldn't let it go, pressing her to say if she scored a 94 or a 93. The friend said it wasn't that much, but the other girl wouldn't let it go. She kept pushing her point, not backing down at all. She kept trying to figure out if it was 92 or 91, and Han-Han started to squirm, looking more and more uneasy. Out of nowhere, puts his hand down on his desk. She jumped a little, caught off guard. He saw his chance and decided to ask for her number. She turned a little red, obviously surprised, but didn't seem to mind, and felt a wave of relief when stepped in and helped her out right before things could get awkward. Not long after, another classmate named Hiyu joined their group. Once he added his new friends, he set up a group chat with all four of them and named it the Dawn Squad. After that, the system lets everyone know he's put together a team and knocked out another group task. He grew up in the city next door. His family's been teaching martial arts for a long time, so long that everyone in town knows their name. Comes from a wealthy family that runs a bunch of clothing stores spread across the district. She's known for having money, and her family's shops seem to be everywhere you look. The four guys started hanging out all the time, sticking together in class and barely ever apart. At one point, he decided to ask his friends who they thought was the strongest in their class. Doesn't waste any time and points out, letting everyone know he scored the highest in the whole district on the entrance exam. The friend couldn't believe what he just heard about the guy's feat. He stared for a second, trying to process it, and thought his buddy was completely out of his mind. Points out that being at the top of the class doesn't really mean much, since there are two students who are basically monsters compared to everyone else. He tells everyone about this guy, who can run 100 meters in just under 8 seconds. There's also this huge guy, Gang, who can just pick up 300 kilograms with one hand like it's nothing. Everyone can't help but notice how strong they are, but the main guy just feels a weight off his shoulders. Those numbers, he remembers having those way back in middle school. The bell rang again, signaling the start of class. Everyone sat up a little as textbooks got passed around the room. Already went through all the study material by himself, so now he spends his free time training somewhere quiet. Realizes he's gotta keep grinding if he wants any shot at taking on the mutant Rat King directly. That afternoon, the first class was all about surviving in the wild. The teacher looked around and wanted to know if anyone actually knew how to start a fire just by rubbing things together. But most people wouldn't bother picking up a skill like that when they had free time. He figured it just didn't seem useful enough to spend time on. Nobody expected it when, and Gang suddenly started trying to make a fire by rubbing sticks together. People nearby stopped what they were doing and watched, curious to see if the two guys could actually pull it off. The teacher looks surprised and actually pretty impressed. He wonders how they even figured that out. Gang talks about how he spent his summer taking extra classes, while remembers picking up the same stuff from online lessons back when he was in middle school. After the two finish showing what they can do, gathers the rest of the group and starts showing them how to get a fire going. Everyone watches closely, trying to pick up the steps as explains and demonstrates, hoping they can pull it off themselves next time. During martial arts class, the teacher starts showing everyone a new way to breathe, something special for their training. The two guys from had it all figured out before anyone else. Once class started, it was like the whole thing was set up just for them. They took over, making the lesson feel more like their own highlight reel than anything else. A month goes by before anyone really notices, and soon the teacher lets the class know it's time to see how much everyone's improved. He tells everyone there's prize money for the guys who land in the top 3 on the exam, but he finds out that first place comes with a prize of 888 yuan. He can't help but get pumped. Thoughts of what he could do with that cash run through his mind, and suddenly the competition feels a lot more interesting. With a reward up for grabs, everyone starts buzzing about the exam. The thought of winning has them fired up, ready to give it their all. The teacher in charge of genetic fusion also gives out another test. The rewards for this one are the same as before. Finishes the exam completely worn out. He sits back in his chair, letting out a deep breath, relieved that it's finally done. Students look around at their test papers, eyebrows raised and lips pressed together. Some of them glance at each other, clearly thrown off by the questions. These aren't the usual easy ones. They're way more detailed and tough than anyone expected. A couple of the guys lean back in their chairs, letting out quiet sighs, while others just stare down at the paper, trying to figure out where to even start. The whole room feels restless, like everyone's silently hoping the next question will be easy. While the others kept rumbling, the dude jumped right back into showing off, not even bothered by what anyone else thought. He watches them showing off and gets irritated, his fists clenching as he fights the urge to swing at them. The teacher let everyone know that the results for the mechanical augmentation test were finally posted. Finds out she passed and can't help but feel excited. She celebrates the good news with both of them caught up in the moment. The teacher kept calling out the scores, and when his name came up, he ended up with 88 points. Everyone around him looked pretty surprised. He can't help but feel proud of himself. He's already thinking about how he'll take the whole group out for food once he gets that third place prize. The teacher let everyone know that Gang and both got 95 points on their chest. The duo couldn't help but show off a little, acting like they totally had it in the bag. They were pretty sure that if they just had 10 more minutes, nobody could stop them from getting a perfect score. He watches them show off, rolling his eyes. Even though they're being flashy, he's pretty sure third place is still his. The teacher looked around the classroom and then dropped the news that someone actually got a perfect score on the test. Everyone turned to see who it was, and that's when it came out was the one who nailed. Everyone's surprised when the main guy scores a perfect 100, and the duo just can't believe it. He isn't happy about losing his spot in third place too. Still, the rest of the group cheers him on for what he managed to pull off. He puts his hand up, curious about when they'll actually get the 888 yuan prize. The teacher said he'd drop the prize details in the class group chat. He couldn't help but wonder why it was so into the money part of the whole thing. About an hour later, the teacher for genetic fusion walked in and started sharing the exam results. The duo checked their scores 81 and 83. Even though those numbers were bad, they still weren't happy with how they did. At the same time, scored 78 points, landing her in the top 5 students in the class. Once again, the hero nails the test and grabs another prize. Meanwhile, the duo can't hide how annoyed they are. The two of them shot their hands up up, pointing straight at. They couldn't believe he kept getting perfect scores and said there was no way someone could pull that off so often. Stood at the front of the room, his face set and focused. He'd spent hours putting together the exam questions himself, making sure they were just right. Anyone looking at him could tell he meant business. He double-checked everything and made sure the questions were his own. There was no way anyone could cheat now. He and the others couldn't help but laugh at the duel. They thought it was pretty lame how those two tried to blame their friend, and they didn't hold back from making it obvious. By the time afternoon rolled around, the class gathered to start their wilderness survival exam. The teacher lets everyone know that the prizes for this test are just like the ones from before. He goes over what everyone has to do, making sure the tasks are clear. Thought it was time for the group to prove themselves. They'd messed up before, but this exam was their shot to turn things around. Deep down, he knew they had to beat this time. No more excuses. Everyone felt the pressure, but they were ready to give it everything they had. Gang nods, looking determined. He's not holding back. He's ready to give it everything he's got and show the main character just how serious he is. The test kicks off with everyone climbing rocks and trees. Doesn't even break a sweat. He's way ahead of everyone else and grabs first place without any trouble. He sprints ahead, leaving the duel far behind. They can't help but notice how fast he is. Even though he did pretty well in the competition, what's really on his mind is ended up coming in last during the climbing event, and that's got him concerned. He can't help but keep checking on his friend, hoping he's okay. As soon as they finish climbing, they jump straight into swimming and a bunch of other challenges. No matter what comes up, the main guy always manages to finish first every time. A month went by, and the martial arts teacher let everyone know it was time to see how much they'd improved. The duel can't hide their excitement. This is their moment to prove themselves and maybe, just maybe, take down for the first time. Before the fights start, teacher Han Yuan gets everyone moving with a warm-up. He leads the group through a 3-part physical test, making sure everyone's ready to go. During the 100-meter dash, he finishes with a time of 7.78 seconds. Steps up for the one-handed weightlifting. He grips the bar, focuses, and lifts a solid 330 kilograms. The crowd watches as he holds it steady, showing off his strength without trying to make a big scene. In the vertical jump, he hits 2.18 meters, landing the top spot in every single test. The duo watches the protagonist show off his strength. They're both caught off guard, not expecting him to be that powerful. Their faces say it all. They didn't see this coming. Let's know there's still hope for them in the upcoming matches, so tries not to let things get to him too much. Once the test wrapped up, everyone made their way over to the gym, where the dueling area was set up. The guy wants to get the test over with, so he's the first one to walk into the ring. No one steps up to challenge the main guy, so the teacher looks around and picks a student named Wei to go up against. He steps into the ring, takes a deep breath, and gets ready to fight. Wants to get things over with fast, so he goes straight for it. He takes down Wei in one hit, ending the fight before it can even really start. The guy keeps taking down every opponent with a single punch. No matter how tough they look, he drops them all without breaking a sweat. He takes down everyone in his class fast, finishing the whole thing before the bell even goes off. The duo freezes up, caught off guard as they finally see just how strong really is. They hadn't expected this at all, and it's clear now they've been underestimating it. With no one else left to challenge the main guy, he looks around and calls out for Gang. He stepped up to Gang, looking confident, ready to throw down. He stretched out his arms, feeling pumped and full of energy, like he couldn't wait any longer to get started. Everyone around could tell he was serious and totally fired up for the fight. Right then, Gang made it clear he wanted to end the fight fast. 30 seconds tops. He wasn't interested in dragging things out, especially if that meant having to go up against. He steps up to the challenge and charges straight at Gang, ready to go head-to-head. Gang moves fast, easily dodging everything he throws at him. No matter how quick he is, Gang's just quicker, slipping past every hit. Right after the match starts, Gang quickly grabs onto East's leg. Gang grabs and starts twirling him around in the air, making his feet leave the ground as he spins. Gets tossed out of the ring and hits the ground. He doesn't get back up, he's lost. After losing, he couldn't hold it in and threw up. Gang watched and nodded, noticing the technique being used. He thought it was pretty good, but deep down, he still felt confident that he was ahead. Steps up and signals to Gang, making it clear he wants to challenge him. Nods and agrees, ready to move forward. He steps forward fast, throwing a strong punch aimed right at. The main guy moves way quicker than Gang, almost like everything around him is slowing down. To him, Gang looks like he's stuck in slow motion, giving the main guy plenty of time to react. He quickly moves out of the way, and Gang's attack doesn't even come close. The main guy doesn't waste any time. He steps up and knocks his opponent right out of the ring, making it clear who's in charge. As soon as this happened, the students started teasing. They pointed out that his reputation was on the line, and now everyone expected to step up for his friend. Had enough of the noise, he raised his voice trying to get everyone to calm down, and then he hopped right into the ring. Can see there's no way to avoid this fight. His mind starts racing as he tries to figure out how he's going to beat. Suddenly charges at the main guy, throwing a punch with everything he's got. He moves way quicker when he's on the counterattack. With just one punch, the hero sends flying off his feet. He hits the ground, totally out cold and beat. Goes up against the other guys in class and starts beating them, one after another. He keeps knocking out every opponent like it's no big deal. Nobody else in class even comes close to beating him. Remembers the rules and figures out that from here on, he's only allowed to go up against the girls. He looks around at the others, thinking about whether any of them might step up and challenge him. Out of nowhere, a girl with purple hair puts her hand up and steps forward, ready to take him on. The girl suddenly leaps into the ring, launching herself at him with a wild flying move, hoping to catch him off guard. He didn't expect her to move that fast, but he reacted just in time, dodging out of the way and hitting her in the back. She wishes she could have stopped him and feels annoyed that she lost the chance. After that happened, the other girls started stepping up to challenge on their own, hoping they could get his attention and hang out with him. The main guy steps in and completely shuts down what the girls are trying to do. He takes each of them on, handling the situation without breaking a sweat. Once the fight's wrapped up, Teacher Hen let everyone know that in a month, their class would be going up against the top class from the second year. The news got him fired up. He saw it as the perfect opportunity to level up faster than before. After class ended, Gang walked up to and made it clear that from now on, they'd be rivals for the rest of their time at school. Shows up and anyone watching can tell he hasn't forgotten what happened to him. He keeps it together on the outside, but deep down, he's already thinking about getting even for the way he was embarrassed. It's clear he isn't planning to let it go anytime soon. The two guys are pretty annoyed when the hero just rushes them off. Meanwhile, he's off in his own world, pumped about scoring over 3,000 yuan. Rain started coming down over the city of Shanghai. He realizes that even with the money he made, it's not enough to get his hands on any beast meat. He wanted to make some extra cash, so he signed up as a web novel writer and started working on his first story. Not long after, he gets a message from an editor who wants to offer him a contract for his novel. He goes ahead and accepts the contract. Later, when he's scrolling through the news, something catches his eye that totally throws him off. A massive mutant rat, way bigger than any normal animal, lunged straight at the cyborg. In seconds, it tore the cyborg apart, splitting it right down the middle. The cyborg, realizing things were getting out of hand, decided to end it all by setting off its own self-destruct core, hoping to take the monster out with the blast. The explosion hit with so much force that the giant mutant rat didn't stand a chance. In seconds, it was gone, nothing left but bits and pieces scattered everywhere. The hero starts to feel uneasy, thinking about how many more of these giant rats could be lurking around the city. Inside the school gym, Hen goes over fighting tactics with his top students. Everyone listens closely, trying to pick up tips and tricks to use in real matches. The atmosphere's serious, with guys standing in a loose circle around, all focused on what he's saying. Some are nodding, thinking about how they can use these strategies next time they're on the mat. Teacher Hen Yuan points out that while the other team doesn't have any standout players, they work better together as a group. Their teamwork makes them tougher to beat. The instructor lets everyone know they're planning to finish the fights fast, so they don't get tired out. The main character, eager to jump into action, steps up and volunteers to go first. His opponent stands there, clearly nervous. She knows she's the weakest in her class, and now she has to go up against the top guy from the other class. It's not exactly a fair fight, and she can't help but feel the pressure. The second-year teacher gets annoyed and calls out Han Yuan for not following the usual rule. He sent someone strong instead of the weakest kid to go first. The instructor nodded, accepting the rules, then looked over at. He wanted to step out of the ring for now, giving the less experienced students a chance to go first. No hero leaves the ring, looking down and clearly let down by how things turned out. And picked to go first, but she shook her head, not ready to step up yet. Steps forward and volunteers to take spot in the fight. Everyone knows isn't the strongest in class, so decides to back her up. The protagonist's childhood friend steps into the ring, and it's obvious he's really tense. His hands are shaking a little, and he keeps glancing around, trying to steady his breathing. Everyone watching can tell he's not used to being in the spotlight like this. The classroom suddenly gets loud as everyone starts yelling and clapping, all rallying behind to show her some support. The crowd starts cheering, but instead of getting pumped up, she just gets even more nervous. Pauses for a split second, and her opponent doesn't waste any time. Sensing the opening, he charges in and throws himself forward, fist swinging fast toward her. She starts landing hit after hit on, making him back up and focus on blocking instead of fighting back. Knows she's probably not going to win, but she still chooses to stick it out and keep going. She figures if she can last longer, maybe her opponent will get tired before she does. 3 minutes go by, and the opponent starts to notice that just won't give up no matter what. Meanwhile, she's starting to feel tired and her breathing is getting heavy. She makes up her mind to finish things fast, so she goes in and nails Han with a strong kick. His childhood friend hits the ground, totally wiped out. Jumps up and takes off toward the instructor, moving fast like he's got rockets in his shoes. Teacher Hen looked impressed. He thought her strategy was clever. She kept her guard up, waited for her opponent to get tired, and then went in for the win. The main guy notices that she managed to keep up with an upperclassman who's had another year to train. He's impressed she held her own for more than 3 minutes and gives her a quiet nod of respect. Next up steps into the ring. His opponent looks worn out, breathing a little heavier than before. Notices this and gets ready, knowing he might have an edge this time. The crowd waits to see how this match will go, with everyone's eyes locked on the two fighters. She steps in fast and throws a high kick. The senior blocks the hit and quickly strikes back. She throws a punch that hits right on the chin, Jin, leaving her looking stunned and out of it. The older guy takes control and pushes down, holding her in place until she gives up. Gets called out for rushing in without bothering to defend herself. She gets labeled as arrogant, like she thinks she's untouchable. She admits she might not be as skilled, but points out that she's been practicing for an extra year. He walks out of the ring with his head down, clearly beaten. Walks up to the ring, determined to get back at the person who beat her friend. She steps up to face the senior, not backing down at all, and actually beats him, which no one really expected. Everyone's hyped about winning. The main guy gives Han some credit, thinking Tong only managed to win because Han wore down their opponent first. About 2 hours later, the rival teacher showed up with a smug look, pretty much letting know his class was down to just 4 students. He acted like the bet was already in the bag, and there was no way he could lose. Could feel the pressure starting to build. Han stands there looking sure of himself. He knows things are just getting started, and he's ready for whatever comes next. The teacher points at, making it clear it's his turn. Steps into the ring, feeling everyone's eyes on him, knowing it's time to prove himself. He jumps right into the ring. He was totally pumped, ready to show what he could do. He looked straight at his opponent, cracking his knuckles, making it clear he wasn't backing down. His stone fists were ready, and he wanted to see if the other guy was brave enough to take him on. The senior looks at him and just laughs a little, clearly not impressed. He thinks the guy is trying way too hard and acting like someone he's not. He gets pretty irritated when things don't go his way, so he charges ahead and lands a solid kick on the older guy. As soon as his opponent hit the ground, completely out cold, everything around him seemed to pause for a second. He looked down at the guy on the ground and started throwing out insults, not holding back at all. It was clear he didn't have any respect for him, making sure everyone around knew exactly how little he thought of the guy. But then someone else stepped into the ring. He stepped into the ring for his next fight, sizing up his new opponent, a senior with purple hair. The older guy looked him over, clearly thinking he was just some cocky kid who needed to be put in his place. The new opponent steps up, looking confident, and goes right in for an attack, ready to prove what real strength looks like. The senior couldn't believe how fast he was. He watched as the guy dodged his attack, moving quicker than he expected. It caught him off guard, and for a second he just stood there trying to figure out what happened. Steps in fast and lands a solid kick right on the senior. The second-year guy hits the floor. The girls in the class started cheering and making noise, pumped up about winning. He keeps racking up wins, knocking out one opponent after another without slowing down. He steps into the ring again, looking calm and focused. The crowd watches as he faces another upperclassman, and just like before, he takes control of the match. With steady moves and sharp instincts, he comes out on top once more, beating another senior without much trouble. Kept his streak going, beating his next opponent without much trouble. He looked around, noticing that nobody could keep up with him. Confident, he started teasing the others, acting like he could handle 10 more guys without breaking a sweat. By the time his 6th match rolled around, he was already worn out. His energy was running low and he just couldn't keep up, so he ended up losing that round. The teacher pointed at, letting him know it was his turn to step into the ring and keep the match going. Took a quick breath, trying to steady his nerves, then walked into the center, ready for whatever came next. Steps into the ring, totally focused and fired up for the fight ahead. Jumps right in and takes down 10 guys one after another, barely breaking a sweat. His strength is pretty crazy, and everyone around can't help but watch. In the 11th match, just couldn't keep up anymore. He was totally worn out, and that cost him the win. Gang walks into the ring, looking calm and ready. He takes on 2 older guys, both of them pretty well known around school. The match doesn't drag on. Before anyone even realizes, Gang has already taken them both down in under 10 minutes. The crowd starts to buzz, surprised at how fast he finished it. He keeps knocking guys out and racking up more wins. The second-year teacher looked over at the group, clearly enjoying himself. He pointed out that only one person was left and raised his eyebrow, challenging them to see if they quit now. And just grins, totally sure of himself. He shakes his head and then brings out his secret weapon, Jinny, ready for the next round. Jin, this huge guy, walks into the ring. Everyone watches as he gets ready to take on Gang. Gang stands his ground, not bothered at all by how big his opponent is. Gang trusts his own power, so he rushes ahead, ready to take down his opponent. He throws a hard punch straight into Jinhai's stomach. Gang throws a punch, expecting to land a solid hit, but something feels off. It's like his fist just bounces back, almost like he's hit a rubber wall. The hit doesn't do anything, and Gang just stands there, not really sure what's going on. He starts second-guessing himself, wondering why his attack didn't work. He goes for a bunch of quick punches, hoping to knock the marshmallow down. No matter how hard tries, nothing he does seems to work. He throws punch after punch, but his opponent doesn't budge at all. That's when it hits him. He can't even get this guy to move an inch. Jin steps forward, ready to go next. He gets into position, focused and determined, making it clear he's about to make his move. The others watch him, waiting to see what he'll do. He grabs Gang by the neck and lifts him off the ground, showing just how strong he really is. He just grabs the guy and tosses him out of the ring, making it look way too easy. The rival teacher stares at Hen Yuan, surprised by how strong the student is. He can't help but wonder where Hen Yuan managed to find someone like that. Hen Yuan let everyone know that Jin was new at the school, which explained why nobody really recognized him yet. The second-year teacher starts freaking out when it hits him that he's about to lose the bet. When it was turn, Mr. Hen Yuan called him up. He reminded that this was his shot to get some real practice, and that losing was just part of learning. He flashes a confident grin, letting everyone know he's got this covered. He's sure of himself, and it shows. He's not even thinking about losing. The teacher looks a little unsure, but he's basically saying, don't stress. He's planning to come out on top. Took one look at the main guy, saw how skinny he was, and figured he'd be easy to handle. He told the group that he wasn't the type to mess with people who couldn't stand up for themselves. All the girls in class started screaming and cheering for him. At the same time, they made fun of the main character's rival, not holding back with their trash talk. The chubby guy looks annoyed as the insults keep coming his way. He clenches his jaw, trying not to let it show too much, but anyone watching can tell he's getting fed up. He figures he should act cool about it, so he promises to stay put and let her make the next 10 moves. He does this to make sure the hero's fans don't call him out for picking on someone who can't fight back. The main guy just nods and goes along with the plan, not making a big deal out of it. Steps up looking serious and signals for him to go all out. He doesn't waste a second. He darts in and throws a solid punch straight at his opponent's stomach, putting everything he's got into it. The hit lands hard, sending the big guy off his feet and through the air, almost like he weighs nothing at all. Jin crashes into the ground so hard, it's like the whole place shakes. People nearby probably feel it in their bones. Everyone goes quiet. Nobody expected the fight to end like that, and now they're all just standing there, not sure what to do next. Out of nowhere, the whole class starts cheering for, pumped up about his win. The giant boy opened his eyes, totally lost. He lay there trying to piece together what went down and still not sure how he lost the fight so fast. The rival teacher looks at and can't help but be impressed. He can't believe actually knocked out Jinhai with just one punch. Teacher Han wasn't having it. He believed the real monster was what everyone thought. It was actually this guy named Wu. At that moment, the main guy walks over, curious about who Wu Tianjin is. The teacher tells the class about Wu, a senior who, back when he was a freshman, managed to beat all the top students from the third year. He talks about the guy like he's some kind of legend, someone who can sprint 100 meters in just 6 seconds, and pick up 650 kilograms with one hand, no sweat. The hero cracks a smile, acting like he's a bit nervous about what just happened, but anyone watching can tell he's not actually scared at all. The story jumps to the front door of a high-end restaurant, the kind of place with shiny windows and people dressed up heading inside. One of the guys in class lifts his drink, nodding at to show some respect for the big win against the second years. Everyone around the table seems more relaxed, enjoying the moment and clearly proud of what they pulled off. Can feel the attention on him, and it's clear the group is grateful for his part in the victory. Everyone cheers and raises their drinks for the protagonist, who's just become the class hero. The mood is electric. Guys are clapping him on the back, and even the quiet ones are smiling his way. For once, it feels like everyone's on the same team, just enjoying the win together. Now his classmates started coming up to him. They wanted to know how he trained and even asked for his contact info. Dick's close to the main guy, making sure he gets food on his plate so he can stay focused. She just keeps looking right at him, not letting her eyes wander for even a second. Out of nowhere, she said she had to use the restroom. He watches Han walk away, his eyes following her until she's out of sight, and then walked toward the restroom. But before she got there, she picked up on 2 girls talking about her when they thought she couldn't hear. It stung a little, realizing people were saying stuff behind her back, and it made her want to keep her head down as she kept going. The guys in class couldn't figure out how ended up in the elite group. They thought she must have tried way too hard to impress the teachers, and started calling her names behind her back. Shows up and makes it clear she's not the kind of person who tries to get on everyone's good side. She spins around, stands tall, and lets everyone know she's been his friend since they were kids. The main guy spots Han looking down and can tell something's off. He wants to know what's going on with it. The girl lets out her frustration. She remembers how her mom used to promise that would just go away as she got older. She admits she still has to wear diapers to bed every night, and honestly, it gets on her nerves. She felt embarrassed and frustrated with herself, wishing she could have more control. Not being able to hold it made her feel helpless, and she couldn't help but think there was something wrong with her. Looks at her with a steady gaze, making it clear that he doesn't see anything wrong with her. He puts his hands gently on her shoulders, and lets her know that her trouble with holding in her pee isn't just some random problem. It's actually her unique superpower. He didn't really get what was going on. The main character explains how her connection to water actually shows her special ability. Starts to wonder if has some kind of superpower too, since he's always been pretty strong. He grins, letting her know that he has a superpower too, just like she does. She started thinking about what kind of superpower the main guy might have. Lets them know he thinks that's a seriously powerful superpower. Out of nowhere, the main guy's whole vibe shifts. His eyes narrow, and you can tell he's not messing around anymore. The guys show up at this building and spot a bunch of men swinging brooms around, all trying to chase down some rats. The big guy freaks out, clearly upset as he tries to get everyone to stop messing with his friends. He's straight up angry now. His eyes narrow, fists clenched, and it's obvious he's had enough. All he can think about is getting back at the guys who mess with his rodent buddies. The guy completely loses it and grabs a broom, rushing straight at the exterminators. He's not thinking, just charging, all worked up and ready to swing. Looked at the guy, thinking there was definitely something off about him. Our hero could tell too. He figured the man probably had some problems going on in his head. The main guy thinks it's best if they head back, so the 2 of them walk off together, holding hands as they go. Next, the scene shifts to his house, where his family has all come together. The news on TV talks about a young woman who worked as a teacher. She went missing last week, and now everyone's hearing about it. Mom can't stop thinking about all the people who've gone missing lately. She wonders if this is already the fourth time it's happened just this month. The guy's dad steps in and lets her know it's actually the fifth time this has happened. The news says that all 5 of the missing women are young and good looking. Mom gets pretty anxious whenever it's late. She really doesn't like the idea of wandering around outside by himself after dark, so she reminds to make sure doesn't head out alone at night. It was week C at the High City Police Station. A guy wearing a white lab coat steps into the room. Inside, the same rat-looking dude from yesterday is sitting there, getting questioned. The officer turns to the doctor, trying to figure out if the guy was actually a mental patient. The doctor didn't really have an answer and admitted he wasn't sure yet. The officer looks puzzled. He can't figure out why the man at the market just kept yelling nonstop. The guard glanced into the interrogation room, checking out what was happening inside. Out of nowhere, something strange starts to happen around the man. A shadowy energy seeps from him, making the air feel heavy and tense. The guy suddenly changes shape, turning into a huge rat. The doctor freaks out and quickly calls for help, wanting someone, and even a robot, to come in and handle the situation. The officers kept shooting at the monster, not holding back at all. The guys find out from a woman that HQ just gave word all the cyborgs are out on another mission, so backup isn't coming anytime soon. He panics and quickly signals for the team to split up and lead the monster out toward the quieter part of town, hoping that'll slow it down and give them a chance to regroup. The blue-haired officer slips into the car, ready to make a quick getaway. Another agent slid into the driver's seat next to her and got ready to take control of the car. They slam on the gas, doing their best to get the giant rat's attention and keep it chasing them. All they can do is try to stay ahead and hope the backup shows up soon. They race through the tunnel, moving way faster than usual. The giant creature goes after them, smashing through everything that gets in its way. And the rat wrecked everything around it. Some of the flying debris smacked right into the police car. That was enough to send the car rolling over, leaving it upside down and totally out of commission. The Herod officer hangs upside down, totally banged up and stuck. The giant rat moves closer to the smashed car, its eyes locked on the wreck. Right at the last moment, something blows up and hits the monster. Out of nowhere, a strange cyborg drops down from the sky and starts blasting at the creature with some kind of high-tech weapons. She signals to start the attack, and right away, several projectiles shoot forward. The cyborg looks around and notices the monster is gone. There's a hole in the ground where it used to be, showing it escaped by digging its way out. But the cyborg also spots signs that the monster didn't get away clean. It's hurt, leaving a trail that should be easy to follow. It's 3 a.m. in the city, and the streets are totally empty. He was already up, focused on his novel. His room was quiet except for the sound of his fingers tapping away on the keyboard, the screen lighting up his face in the early morning. Even though most people were probably still asleep, he seemed lost in his own world, determined to keep writing. He heads outside, ready to see if his training actually paid off. The hero moves fast, jumping from one rooftop to the next. He lands with steady feet, barely making a sound. It almost looks easy the way he covers the distance, like he's done this 100 times before. He notices he's way stronger and faster than before. He looks at how far he's come and feels pretty good about it. There's a quiet sense of pride as he checks off another goal, knowing he's getting closer to what he wants. It's not over-the-top excitement, just that steady, solid feeling when you know your hard work is paying off. Out of nowhere, he catches a weird sound echoing from the alley nearby. Spots some weird creature chowing down on something. The thing actually looks kind of guilty, almost like it's sorry for eating because it was just really hungry. He thinks back to the news reports about a mutant rat and starts to question if this is the one everyone was talking about. He figures he should call the cops, but before he can do anything, the monster locks eyes on him. The creature suddenly goes for him, moving way faster than he expected. Moves fast, slipping past every swing that comes his way. He waits for the right moment, then snaps out a strong kick, hitting back hard. The monster gets knocked back hard and goes flying through the air. The creature doesn't expect the student to be that strong. It freezes for a second, surprised by just how much power the student has. The creature kept its eyes on the main guy, watching every move he made. It seemed more careful now, pulling back a little and not making any sudden moves. Before the creature even had a chance to react, the main guy chucked a rock straight at its head. He doesn't waste any time and starts hurling rocks at the monster, one by one, so fast it looks like a never-ending stream. Before anyone could react, the monster was ripped to pieces by a bunch of sharp stones flying straight from the main guy. It happened so fast, 1 second the monster was there, the next it was just gone, nothing left but scattered pieces. Once the creature got smashed into mush, the main guy let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Seeing that thing finally stop moving made him relax for the first time in what felt like forever. The creature was finally down, but still wasn't sure if it was really over. He kept looking at where it disappeared, not fully convinced it wouldn't pop back up. Even after all that, a part of him just couldn't relax yet. Suddenly, a message pops up on his screen. It tells him he's just taken in a bit of the mutant rat's life source. He figured it was best to head out now, not really wanting to run into anyone else. While all this was going on, the cyborg who had been tracking the monster showed up at the scene. She comes across what's left of the creature and starts thinking about who could have done it. Somewhere else in the city, a weird group of people meets up inside an old, run-down building that looks like nobody's used it in years. A guy with his hood up walks through the shadows, carrying a woman in his arms. She isn't moving at all, totally out of it. He shoves her right into the middle of the circle, then lifts his hands like he's showing her off to some creepy rat god. But then out of nowhere, this dark figure shows up. It's not happy, and it's clear that having just one girl around isn't going to cut it. It wants more, like its hunger just keeps growing. The man dropped to his knees, clearly desperate as he tried to get his master to forgive him. He went on to explain that finding girls by themselves had got way harder lately, since most of them were hanging out in groups now. The dark entity laid down a new rule. If there weren't any women around, the next targets for his sacrifice would have to be young men. The servant lowers his head, showing he's giving in. Out of nowhere, someone tosses a chunk of meat right in front of the guy wearing the hood. He felt grateful to his god for looking out for him. Without hesitating, he started eating the raw meat, hungry and not really caring about anything else right then. Inside the empty, rundown building, something weird happens to the woman. Out of nowhere, a bizarre tongue wraps around her, catching her completely off guard. The dark thing swallowed up a young woman, pulling her into the shadows. Once it's done eating, the creature lets out a burp, clearly content with its snack. The entity made it clear that next time, it was aiming for the nobles. Apparently, it thought their meat was softer and better. While all this was going on, the main guy spent some time helping his buddy work on his martial arts move. He points out that her legs are too close and shows her how to spread them out a little more. Steps in to help, gently shifting the girl's stance so she's not directly facing her opponent. He shows her a safer way to stand, making sure she's got a better shot at staying on her feet. He wants her to give it a try, and gets ready, then rushes straight toward the main character. He stops the attack just in time and notices how much stronger and sharper her moves have got. In his mind, he's kind of impressed at how much she's leveled up since last time. The girl steps in and throws a quick hit, barely even has to try as he blocks the kick. He notices right away that her form is off, especially her stance, and tells her she needs to spread her legs out more before she goes for a kick. He throws a couple more punches, but none of them get through his guard. He blocks them without much effort, staying calm the whole time. After the tough training session is wiped out, but he can tell he's gotten a lot stronger. She wanted them to train every day, but thought 3 times a week was plenty. He thought about how tough their training could get. If they actually did this every single day, she'd probably be wiped out. Just the idea of it made him smile to himself. Just then, his phone started buzzing. Curious wanted to know if there was any big news. Everyone was glued to the news when word got out that the corporation planned to give free treatment to prodigy girls. For most guys, it was hard not to pay attention. This kind of announcement didn't happen every day. People started talking online right away, trying to figure out what was up to and what it meant for those girls. There's another news story going around about some genius kid who somehow ended up with spider genes. Now he's smashing all the school records, and everyone can't stop talking about him. He starts to think about gene fusion and whether it's actually the right move for him down the road. Let's place the guy's back at his desk, tapping away at his novel again. His readers really liked what he wrote. They left a bunch of positive comments, saying his writing was good and that he did a great job getting his point across. He figures that with his new skills, he could probably knock out 10,000 words in just an hour. Right then, his dad shows up. He looks at the book, clearly impressed, and tells his son that something like this could actually bring in a good amount of cash. He figures this stash is just what he needs to get access to more beast codexes. Next day, everyone shows up for martial arts class. Teacher Han Yuan gets things going by setting up a training session for the group. Like always, he wipes out every opponent without even breaking a sweat. He moves fast, dodging every hit and landing clean counters. Everyone watching can tell he knows what he's doing. The students keep trying, but no matter what they do, they can't hit their target. Every move they make gets dodged or blocked, and it's starting to get frustrating. Some of them clench their fists, others just grit their teeth, but they all realize just how outmatched they are. After winning, he gets 888 yuan and some experience points from the system. Across the court, Han and her friend kept their eyes on the training. They couldn't help but wish they had the kind of strength the main guys showed out there. Now things are different. Childhood friend is able to stand her ground and protect herself. She holds her ground for almost 3 minutes, trading punches and kicks with her opponent. Teacher Han notices how much she's gotten better and gives her a nod of approval, making her feel like all her hard work is finally paying off. The teacher rounds up everyone in the class, getting their attention. He tries to hype them up and get them ready to face off against the elite class, making sure they all know what's at stake and pushing them to give it their all. The class starts to feel a bit more fired up, glancing at each other and nodding, ready to see what they can do. The teacher saw that everyone was up for the challenge and gave the class a quick nod of approval. He seemed honestly impressed that no one backed down and let them know he noticed their energy. The room felt a little lighter, like everyone had just leveled up together. After a month went by, checked his account and saw he'd made 80,000 yuan from his novel. The number felt unreal, almost like he was dreaming. Every time he thought about it, he couldn't help but smile a little, realizing that all those late nights actually paid off. He heads out to the store, hoping to pick up some giant eagle meat. The saleswoman throws in a small discount, knocking 5% off if someone spends 100 jin. He turns it down since he still doesn't have enough. At school, Han walks over and signals that it's time for lunch, hinting that he wants him to join. Leads him over to a part of the cafeteria he hasn't seen before. He looks around and notices all the different dishes on the tables, each one looking better than the last. Watching the chefs work, he can't help but admire how good they are at what they they do. And his friend grabbed their seats and got ready to eat. As soon as the food hit the table, noticed how good it smelled and couldn't help but show he was impressed. The guys grabbed their food trays, each loaded up with a meal. The hero's childhood friend noticed they'd gotten there before the crowd and seemed glad they didn't have to deal with a long wait. Out of nowhere, they catch the sound of people arguing because someone tried to sneak ahead in line. Starts to feel uneasy and wonders if they should check out what's going on, but sees that the fight is winding down on its own. He took care of everything while the bully kept yelling at him. The extra walks over to a group of other extras. They lean in close and start whispering to each other, glancing around like they don't want anyone else to hear what they're saying. The bullies closed in around him, crowding him with smug looks. They started messing with him, making it clear they planned to jump the line and didn't care who noticed. He stood there tense, aware of everyone watching but not sure what to do next. Right then, he lost his cool and told them off, making it clear they needed to head to the back of the line. The bullies just stand there, totally unfazed. He steps in front of the bullies, trying to block their way, but they just ignore him and push right past. Notices something, off with, he can tell's caught up in a bad situation. Sees this too and steps in ready to help out. The main guy walks up to the bully and tells him to wait his turn like everyone else. The bully steps up and dares him to do something about it, making it clear he's not backing down. Pulls out his phone, holding it up like he's about to record or call someone. He makes it clear he's not messing around and could report the guy if things get out of hand. The bully gets mad, clearly not happy that someone might tell on him. He thinks it's not cool for anyone to go running to an adult. The whole thing just makes him look even angrier, like he can't believe someone would even think about getting out. The guy thinks to himself that cutting in line is actually way more shameless. With nothing else going on, the bully and his friends just walk off, looking pretty annoyed. Inside a fancy mansion, a group of people came together for a secret meeting. The leader lets everyone know that one of the guys on their team is out of the game. He brings in someone new to take the old member's spot. The leader lets everyone know that the rat god isn't interested in regular people anymore. Apparently, their flesh just doesn't taste good to it. One of the cult members points out how risky it is to kidnap nobles. The leader looks around at the group and points out that the kids of wealthy merchants, the ones without any real protection or influence, would be the easiest targets. The rest of the guys listen, knowing it makes sense. He looks over at the new guy and points him toward a good-looking young man, telling him that's where he should start practicing. The newcomer nods and takes on the mission. He tells them he'll bring back a good-looking guy from the city. The next day rolls around and lets Jin know that the guys who jumped the line yesterday are actually from the second elite class. The main character thought about how some people get good grades, but that doesn't always make them good people. He realized that just because someone does well in school doesn't mean they're always doing the right thing or treating others well. Sometimes, what matters more is how someone acts, not just the scores they get. Not long after, his phone buzzed with news that someone else had gone missing. He scrolled through the news on his phone and saw that another rich hair had disappeared. This made it the fifth one so far. He starts to wonder if the missing people might have something to do with the rat god cult. The day of the challenge finally comes around. Class gets ready, everyone feeling the pressure as they know they're up against the elite class. There's a buzz in the air, and you can tell everyone's on edge, trying to hype themselves up before it all begins. The bullies from the line glare at him, clearly annoyed, and one of them flips him off. He doesn't even flinch. Instead, he gives the bullies the same disrespectful gesture right back, which just makes them even angrier. The first match kicks off, and Shen, one of the guys from his class, heads into the ring. Her opponent suddenly charges forward and goes for a flying kick. The hit slams right into Shen, Ching, and squarely, knocking her backwards hard. The girl tries to push back, but the senior is way stronger and easily knocks her down. She hits the ground hard, struggling to get back up. Not long after, some of his classmates stepped into the ring one by one, but each of them ended up losing. The brown-haired girl steps forward and lands a solid kick on another student, dropping her to the ground. None of the kids in his class even managed to hit their target. Then a shorter guy with a solid build steps into the ring. He looks confident, like he's ready to take on anything. But it doesn't last long. He's knocked out almost right away. Not long after, a senior with bright red hair steps into the ring. He doesn't waste any time. Right from the start, he's clearly in charge, moving fast and making it obvious he knows what he's doing. In under 10 minutes, she takes down 9 people from his class. 3 of them are guys, and none of them stand a chance against her. There were just 4 students left in his class now, he, gang, and there were only 5 girls who left the elite class, so there were still 36 students hanging in there. Can tell right away that he's completely outmatched. Things aren't looking good for him at all. It's pretty clear he's in serious trouble. He grabbed his phone and reached out to, wanting to know if taking down the last 6 girls was even possible. Looks calm and sure of himself as he steps into the ring, getting set for the fight. He pictures himself taking on the girls and winning easily, a grin spreading across his face as he thinks about it. Steps in fast and takes down the first girl right away. He lets everyone know he's got it under control. The boy steps into the ring, focused and determined. He doesn't hesitate, moving quickly and using all his strength. One by one, he manages to take down each of the 6 girls in the ring. It's not easy, but he keeps pushing through until they're all out. The crowd watches, impressed by how he handles the challenge without backing down. Not long after, the same guy who had pushed ahead in line climbs into the ring, getting ready to go up against you. The bully stood in front of him, throwing out insults and making it clear he was out to scare him. He leaned in, acting like this was the end for the other guy, trying to get under his skin and make him panic. You thought the guy was being rude for cutting in line, and decided he wasn't just going to let it slide. He started planning to get back at him, determined to make sure the dude paid for it. The bully rushes straight at him, ready to throw a punch. Isn't ready for what's coming, and gets nailed with a solid punch right in the stomach. He drops to his knees, pain shooting through him. That hit was way faster and harder than he expected, and it leaves him stunned for a second as he tries to catch his breath. The bully stands there making fun of him and calling him weak. He keeps pushing, trying to get him to give up. The bully goes in for a kick, but stands up fast and shoves him back. He steps in and nails with a solid kick, sending him crashing down to the floor. Loses his balance and falls right out of the ring. He drops to the ground, completely worn out. He realizes he lost focus because he was too caught up thinking about getting back at his enemy. The bully, annoyed that keeps getting involved, decides to call him out for a fight. The hero steps up, ready to take on whatever comes next. He jumps into the ring, all eyes on him, knowing this is his moment to prove himself. Sees this as the exact moment he's been waiting for. He's ready to jump in and finally test himself in a real fight. The guys in his class start hyping him up, nudging him to get back at Hiyu. They're all looking at him, waiting to see what he'll do next. The bully spots and suddenly charges straight at him. The bully swings his leg and tries to land a kick on the main guy. The main guy blocks the other dude's punch using only one hand. With one solid hit, the hero knocks the extra down. The extra was out cold on the floor, steps right over him, doing the exact same thing he did before. He shoves the other guy out of the ring. Nobody expected to go down so fast. He was always ranked up there with the best in class, and everyone just stood there, stunned, trying to process what had just happened. The class rep, who always seemed to have everything figured out, suddenly noticed that hadn't been showing what he was really capable of. It hit him that had been holding back this whole time, keeping his real strength under wraps while everyone else thought they knew what he could do. Everyone in class just stared, not really sure what to think. Some of the guys started to question if he was even a normal person. Turns to the rest of the elite class, looking them over. He's calm, but everyone can tell he's ready for whatever comes next. The room goes quiet as the others realize it's their turn to step up. The students freeze up and step back, clearly scared of what the main guy can do. Half an hour later, every single one of the 29 students left in the elite class had already lost. He checks the system and notices he's already taken out 119 opponents from 1,000. He looks around and realizes he's way stronger than everyone else at school. From that moment, he figures there's no point in sticking to the school rules anymore. On Monday, the main guy heads over to the principal's office to ask for something. Wanted to set up a personal challenge, taking on the whole school, and he even put up some rewards to make things interesting. The principal hears the request and can't believe what he's just heard. He wonders how he even has the nerve to go up against the entire school. The guy wants to show everyone what he's really made of, so he tells the principal they should head to the gym. He's ready to prove just how strong he is, not just by talking, but by showing it. After that, the two of them head over to the gym, ready for the main guy to prove what he can do. The principal looks at him, trying to figure out what they're doing there so late. Shrugs off his jacket, showing everyone he's not messing around and wants to prove just how tough he really is. He starts to get all flustered and tells him to hang on, her mind racing as she pictures him about to do something just to impress her. He barely glances her way and reaches straight for the bench press bar, not really thinking about her at all. He grabs the 700 bar and lifts it up with one hand like it's nothing. The principal can't believe what he's seeing. He just stands there frozen, eyebrows raised, trying to process what just happened. She figures out he's even stronger than the toughest guy their school has ever had. The principal listened to his request and decided to help out. She said she'd take care of setting up the challenge for him. The hero leans in and suggests she should add some rewards to keep the other students interested and on track. He comes up with an idea for prizes, one just for joining in, and another that gets bigger every time someone takes on a new challenge. The principal nodded, clearly on board with the plan. She let him know she'd handle things just like he wanted. Pulled the principal aside and let her know about his strength, making it clear he didn't want anyone else finding out. The principal understood and promised to keep it between them. Back in the principal's office, she goes over the challenge again while the main guy listens. She shows him the final plan, and he nods, grateful for everything she's done. The principal just smiled back, acting like it was nothing, but there was something in her eyes that felt a little too intense. At the same time, two teachers walk into the room, looking around with puzzled faces, trying to figure out what's going on. He couldn't help but wonder why the principal, usually so serious, was suddenly being so friendly. It just felt off, almost like seeing your strict teacher crack a joke out of nowhere. The teacher couldn't believe his eyes when he noticed the principal giving special attention. It was pretty unusual, and he found himself wondering what made stand out so much. When the day of the challenge finally comes, the gym fills up fast. People start showing up early, grabbing spots to get the best view. Everyone's waiting to see what's about to go down. The principal steps up and points everyone's attention to the new guy. He lays out what the challenge is all about, making sure everyone knows the rules and what they could win if they pull it off. The students aren't having it. They get loud, booing at and thinking he's acting way too full of himself. The hero steps up and lets everyone know he's going to protect the ring every day at lunchtime. At night, somewhere else in the city, the streets are packed with people. A young guy with blonde hair, heads down the sidewalk by himself. himself. He keeps his hands in his pockets and moves at an easy pace, just minding his own business as he goes. Two girls walked up to him and asked if he wanted to go out for drinks at a bar. Wu Tianjin doesn't waste any time. He keeps his cool, barely showing any emotion, and just sends them packing. Everyone calls him boring and just walks off, acting like he's destined to be alone. He keeps grumbling about how he wants a good-looking guy, but so far, no one's really caught his eye. Wu can't stop thinking about what might happen if he messes up his mission. The thought of the cult leader finding out makes his stomach twist. He really doesn't want to deal with whatever punishment could be coming his way. He considered going after a celebrity, but quickly realized that wasn't going to work. Famous people always have bodyguards hanging around, making it almost impossible to get close to them. He's new to the whole rat god cult thing, and deep down, he knows there's no way he could pull something like that off. Out of nowhere comes jogging down the street, getting his workout in. Wu couldn't help but notice how good-looking the guy was. He actually thought this dude seemed like the right fit, almost too perfect. He spots his target, and it finally feels like things are going his way. He spots and grins, already picking him out as the one he's going to use for the sacrifice. The hero steps into a quiet, empty alley, not noticing that Wu is sneaking after him, keeping out of sight. The villain grins in a way that would make anyone uneasy, noticing that there's nobody nearby to see what he's up to. He suddenly starts to change, his body shifting and growing until he turns into a monster. Out of nowhere, a brick comes sailing through the air and smacks him right on the head. The monster looks around, confused about what's going on. Showed up holding another brick in his hand. He looks surprised to see the rat man standing there, like he hadn't expected to run into someone like that. The creature looks scared, eyes wide and body tense, completely lost as the main character talks. It has no clue what's going on or what any of those words mean. The monster hits the ground before anyone can do anything. The hero stands there not really sure what to think. He can't help but question if the rat god's followers are honestly this weak. It just doesn't add up in his mind. He shrugs off his doubts and just goes for it, taking in the life energy from the body without making a big deal out of it. He looks at his progress bar and sighs. The essence barely did anything, just bumped him up by a single %. It's definitely not what he was hoping for, and now he's left wondering if all this effort is even worth it. He gets it now. Running at night isn't safe anymore, so he decides to stop going out after dark. Not every cultist is as easy to beat as the last one he took down. Some of the tougher mutants can actually take a hit from bullets and keep going. The next day is chilling and watching the news when he sees a report saying the cult has been completely wiped out. He didn't expect to hear that the rat god set was totally wiped out. The report revealed that the one who took down the cult leader was actually a woman. She looked like a dark angel, but it was clear she was way stronger than most people around. The news said the whole thing was over in just 30 seconds. It wasn't even close. One side totally dominated the other. The hero watches as a stronger creature shows off its abilities. He can't help but be amazed at just how powerful this higher-level being is. Seeing it in action makes him realize how much farther he still has to go. While all this is going on, the city's buildings glow in the night, their lights standing out against the darkness. One guy turned to his friend, wanting to know if there was any update about. He lets them know the boy hasn't been found yet. The red-haired guy isn't happy. He points out that the top team sent out to source number 36 just disappeared. The blue-haired guy looked pretty calm, like he wasn't stressed out about anything going on back where he came from. If things were bad, he definitely wouldn't have shown up here, so it was obvious he thought everything was under control. The redhead nodded in approval, clearly impressed that he managed to take down the Rat King, who wasn't exactly an easy target. For someone like him, this stuff barely counted as a challenge. He decides to ask his coworker to come and give a talk at the university he used to go to. The raid head knew that talking to the new guys wasn't just something extra. It was actually part of what he had to do. Giving them a pep talk and helping them feel ready was just as important as any other part of the job. Next, there's this really dark cave, looking pretty deep and kind of mysterious. At first, the creature went after people who lived on the streets, but pretty soon it started targeting younger folks too. Not long after, it started going after rich people who had it easy. The giant bean seemed annoyed, making it clear that it had dragged him there just to dig tunnels for its own kind. He's seriously annoyed. The giant looked down at the creature, staring hard, almost like he was judging if the little guy should stick around or not. The air felt heavy between them, everyone waiting to see what would happen next. The monster lowers its head, clearly desperate for another shot. It looks like it's hoping someone might go easy on it, even though it messed up before. The giant being nods, making it clear that another chance is possible. But there's clearly something else coming, some sort of catch hanging in the air. He realized there was going to be a cost for what he'd done. The huge creature looked down at him, calling the sewer rat's eye gross, but also hinting that it probably tasted pretty good. He pops the eyeball into his mouth and keeps eating, thinking it actually tastes pretty good. He realizes the monster was smart, hiding out and letting the others get caught first. At that moment, he lets the rat man know he means business. If the rat man doesn't start digging the tunnel, things won't end well for him. The giant steps forward and in one swift move cuts down the creature. At school, could feel a group of students watching him. They were paying close attention, talking quietly to each other about his challenge. The main guy just scrolls through his phone, not paying attention to what people are saying around him. He was scrolling on his phone when an ad popped up about a reward for anyone who could help help catch members of the rat god cult. He looks at them and can't help but see each one as 500,000 yuan just walking around. Realizes he's got to focus on getting stronger and staying out of trouble before he can even think about any reward. The gym is crowded, with tons of students gathering around the ring to check out what's happening. He steps into the ring and glances around, realizing just how packed the place is. He figures that just giving out a participation prize isn't enough, so he decides to throw in something extra. And hand grabs a megaphone and lets everyone know there are prizes up for grabs if they join the challenge. When the students hear they could win cell phones and gaming consoles, their eyes light up. Some guys can't help but start whispering to each other, thinking about how cool it would be to score new tech. Just the idea of it gets everyone talking, and the room feels a little more alive as they imagine what they might win. One of the students jumps up, clearly pumped and eager to be the first one to go up against. Out of nowhere, a girl steps right in front of him. She stands there ready to go, making it clear she wants to be the first one to fight. Not long after, a bunch of other girls showed up, all saying they wanted in too. Some girls walk into the ring, getting ready to go up against the main character. One of the girls spots her chance and lightly taps the hero's arm, just to get his attention. Another girl leans in, getting right up at his personal space. Stands there not really sure what's going on. Things are starting to get weird, and he's trying to figure it out, but nothing makes sense. He makes up his mind not to hold back on anyone if it means getting what he wants. He acts fast and shoves the first girl out of the ring. He glanced over at the second one, realizing it needed to be handled as well. Right after that, he uses his power and pushes all the girls away from him. The system screen popped up, letting him know his progress just hit 309. One of the girls who lost steps forward and raises her hand, signaling she wants another shot at going up against him. Lets everyone know that once someone loses, they're out and can't join in anymore. The girls hear the news and can't help but look bummed out. They were hoping for another chance to hang out with him, maybe get to know him a little better, but now it seems like that's not going to happen. The bully stomped over, clearly annoyed. He had it out for and decided today was the day he'd show it. The main guy steps up and lands a solid punch, dropping the bully right there. It doesn't take long before it takes down every student who steps up to face him. He looked around at everyone sprawled out on the ground and waited to see who would step up to challenge him next. Stepped forward and let everyone know he was up next. Most of the students didn't expect to see the well-known guy from the top class just show up like that. People always talk about how he lost to an older student back in the day. He used to be pretty full of himself back in the day, just like his now. The guy steps up looking confident, almost like he's done this 100 times before. He makes it clear that he's about to show the main character something important. No matter how strong you get, there's always someone out there who's tougher. As the senior keeps talking up front, leans over to the teacher, wondering if it's finally time for the fight to start. Before the guy could get his words out, the main character jumps him. The hero steps up and lands a solid hit, sending his opponent flying across the room. Leaned out his ear and noticed how quiet everything got. It was kind of a relief, like turning off a loud playlist after a long day. Nobody expected to lose that fast. The students just stood there staring, almost not believing what they'd just seen. In the middle of the crowd, someone claps their hands, catching everyone's attention. Everyone in the room noticed when walked in. He was known as the top student, and seeing him show up for his friend got everyone's attention. Some of the guys nudged each other, clearly impressed that the best in school would step in like that. Spot's the toughest guy in school stepping into the crowd, ready for a fight. He knows this isn't just anyone. This is the guy everyone talks about, the one nobody wants to mess with. Just seeing him there makes tense up, knowing things are about to get real. Walks into the ring, not expecting to lose to the main guy. The other guy looks like he wants to say something, but cuts him off and asks the teacher to just get the fight started. The senior, clearly annoyed, goes in for the first move, planning to get his point across after dealing with the protagonist. Both guys land heavy hits on each other at the same time, making the ground shake under their feet. The force behind their punches is enough to grab everyone's attention, with dust flying up and a loud smack echoing through the air. Quickly says sorry, but he's clearly in a rush. Without wasting any time, he sends his opponent flying up into the air, not even sticking around to see what happens next. It's tossed aside and can't believe how strong the main guy is. Everyone in the crowd just stared, not really believing what they just watched. The guy everyone thought was unbeatable had just lost, and it wasn't even close. He got super quiet for a few seconds, like nobody knew what to say or even how to react. He looks out at the crowd, scanning the faces, and then picks someone, signaling for them to step up and take him on. He looks around the group and points at a student who hasn't been in a fight so far. Lets the guy know that joining in could actually score him some cool prizes. The main guy barely does anything. He just reaches out and taps the student, and that's all it takes. The other kid goes down right away, no fight left in him. Everyone watching can't believe how easy it looked. The other students start to relax a bit. They see that losing isn't embarrassing when the opponent is clearly on another level. Some of them even look impressed, knowing they gave it their best shot. Everyone steps into the ring, ready to battle it out for the prizes. Barely even tries, just taps the other guy on the head and it's already over. Another win for him, quick and easy. He keeps winning every fight, knocking out every student who steps into the ring, one after another. The system popped up on his screen, letting him know he'd finally hit the milestone. 1000 opponents taken down. Feels good about finishing what he set out to do. After earning the The achievement unlocks a new ability that lets him hit harder in battles. He wraps up the challenge and hops out of the ring, leaving the girls looking pretty unimpressed as the event winds down. Someone reaches out to him, and together they head out of the gym. The blaze starts to clear out. He heads down the hallway and steps into the principal's office. The principal gives the main guy a nod, letting him know he's officially the top student in school. He's honestly surprised he managed to beat. Admits he didn't use all his strength, just held back a bit. The main guy starts wondering about the real combat training room. She lets them know the room is always available for them, but it's not a spot everyone can just walk into. In the end, she's cool with letting them use it. She moves in closer, lowering her voice so only he can hear. She reminds him to watch out and make sure nobody gets hurt. He stands there scratching his head, not really getting what she's trying to say. Her warning just leaves him puzzled, and he's left wondering if he missed something important. He and Hannon stepped out of the room and headed down the hallway side by side. The hero stands there holding the key in his hand. He looks at it and starts to wonder what Han can really do. Now that he has the key, he figures it's finally time to find out what Han is capable of. Called him up asking if he could help her out with something. Let everyone know she signed up for a singing contest and wanted some help getting ready. She wanted to practice at night, so he said yes. The girl lights up with excitement and takes off running, clearly pumped and celebrating as she goes. Feels pretty proud of her and really wants her to get more confident after the contest. Was at home. There's nothing in this panel. In the next room, her parents could hear what was going on. Her dad couldn't help but feel uneasy about the two of them being by themselves. His wife gives him a hard look, reminding him that she and the guy have known each other since they were kids, so he shouldn't get involved. She warns him to stay out of things, and her dad, clearly nervous around her, just nods and promises to keep quiet. The main character catches some loud voices coming from her parents. She realizes they're arguing, and even though she tries not to listen, it's impossible to ignore what's going on. After some time, decided it was time to wrap up practice. He figured they'd done enough drills for one day and needed to hit the books. He lets her know they've got swimming class at school tomorrow. Stands by the door as he heads out, watching him go. Once he's gone, she sits there, thinking about the swimming class. Her face heats up a bit and she can't help but feel awkward remembering what happened. She heads over to her closet, flipping through her clothes until she spots her swimsuits. She takes a moment to decide which one to wear, thinking about what would look best for the day. She stands in front of the mirror, holding up a one piece in one hand and a bikini in the other. She can't really make up her mind about which one to wear. It's pretty embarrassed just thinking about putting on the bikini. She pictured them all hanging out at the pool and instantly felt her face get hotter. She figures it's just going to be a round, so she grabs the bikini and tosses it in her bag. It was just another regular day at school. The halls buzzed with students trying to get to class on time, some messing around with friends, others glued to their phones. Everyone seemed to have their own routine, whether it was rushing to beat the bell or hanging back to avoid teachers. The whole place felt familiar, like a place everyone knew by heart, even if they'd rather be somewhere else. He's by the pool, hanging out by himself and waiting for it to show up. He's already changed and standing there in his swimming trunks, looking like he's just waiting for something to happen. All the cameras around the pool had something blocking them. Here's calling out to him from behind and quickly turns to see what's up. He stops in his tracks when he sees Han walk out of the locker room wearing a bikini. He wasn't expecting that at all, and it definitely catches him off guard. She walks up to him and checks if he's been waiting for her. He watched her moving along, trying to warn her about the slippery floor. Even though he acted casual on the outside, deep down he was actually pretty impressed by how she handled herself. Gestures for her to join him in the water, ready to kick off their training. Both of them jump in and swim side by side under the water. Under the water, the main guy reaches out and carefully takes her hand. Glances over at both of them underwater. She steps up and wraps her arms around him, pulling him into a hug. The girl looks up and gestures toward the surface, letting everyone know she wants to head back up. The main guy wraps his arms around her and lifts her off the ground, starting to rise up. As soon as they come up for air, he tries to figure out what just went down. Annan didn't expect it, but when the water moved through her body, it felt weird, almost like something was off, but she couldn't quite figure out what. He holds out her hands, letting everyone see for themselves that what she's saying is true. The water slips right through her fingers like she's not even touching it. The girl looks at him, confused, as water starts to drip down from her body. She doesn't really get why it's happening and turns to him, hoping he might have some kind of answer. RMC's face changes when it clicks. This has to be her superpower. He locks in, starting to focus, knowing things just got real. He reached out and checked his friend's hand, just to make sure everything was okay. He grabs the girl's hand and notices that water just goes straight through, like her hand isn't even there. Thinks they should see if the same thing happens on other parts of her body. The girl nods, her face turning red as she tries to hide how awkward she feels. She lay back on the lounge chair, barely saying the hero's name, her voice so quiet he almost missed it. He splashed some water on her just to see how she'd react. She wanted to know if this was going to take a while. After trying a couple of things, he figures out that her body seems pretty normal. He lets her know that right now, it seems like only her hands have this strange power. Wondered if her issue had something to do with this strange ability, and he thought she was probably right. He let her know that if she ever felt like she was about to lose control again, she should tell him first. He starts to panic a bit, unsure of what's going on, and tells her to see if anything else feels weird. Realizes he nearly acted like a complete weirdo, and Anne suddenly figures out that she isn't just some average person. She actually has water powers. Instead of seeing herself as useless, she starts to realize she's got something special going on. She believes that someday, when she's got her powers figured out, she'll be there for him, backing him up just like he always hoped someone would. The hero heads into the city, planning to pick up some more beast meat. He walked into the market and spotted a clerk who noticed him right away, giving a quick nod and a friendly wave as he stepped inside. He slides his credit card onto the counter, ready to pay. He tells the shopkeeper he wants to buy 100 pounds of gray eagle meat. The woman grabs the card and checks out the delivery address. She looks a bit caught off guard by what's on the order. She watches him walk away and starts thinking about what kind of guy would just give so much without a second thought. The clerk finishes up the order, hoping deep down that the customer leaves a solid review this time. Inside an old warehouse, he looked around, thinking about how all those nights writing his novel had actually paid off. Now, he had $210,000 saved up. He checks his cash and realizes he actually has enough to pay for the giant eagle meat. The guy's pretty hyped, barely able to sit still as he wonders what kind of surprise the Codex has in store for him next. He gets a notification from the system saying he's just absorbed the eagle's life source, and now the Codex is fully charged. In his mind, a huge eagle soared high above a sea that glittered with crystal. The eagle in the picture swoops down fast, heading straight for the water like it's locked onto something. In his head, he pictured an eagle swooping down and grabbing a huge squid with its claws. After unlocking the Codex, the system gives him a quick congrats and lets him know he's just picked up the attribute. With this new power, he could see way more than before, picking up on every little movement around him. Tracking stuff got way easier, almost like he had eyes everywhere. Now his eyes shine bright gold, standing out in the room. He tries out his new power and suddenly, he's able to see the whole city at the same time. Every street, building, and even the people moving around. It's all there, like he's got the ultimate drone view. He can spot one person in a crowd without any trouble, like his eyes just lock right on them. He's surprised at himself, realizing he can actually make out what's on someone else's phone screen from way across the room. After trying out his new power, he heads home. When he steps inside, he notices his parents hanging out in the living room, just watching TV. He wasn't expecting to see them there, so it catches him off guard for a second. The news showed a story about a monster called a winch. It had attacked and hurt a lot of people, hundreds actually. The whole thing looked serious, and anyone watching couldn't help but feel uneasy about what might happen next. The guy stood on stage, talking to the crowd. He looked serious as he explained that combining human genes wasn't the right way forward. People in the audience watched him, some nodding along, others just listening quietly. Before he could finish talking, another guy stepped in and cut him off. The new guy didn't think much of regular martial artists. He just didn't trust them at all. The protagonist's dad always seemed uneasy around people who used genetic fusion. To him, they were unpredictable, like things could go wrong at any second. He never really said it out loud, but his attitude made it clear he didn't trust what they were capable of. His mom keeps saying the government is pretty strict about things, so stuff going wrong doesn't really happen much. The dad brought up something serious. Genetic fusion makes it impossible to have kids. His mom glanced over at him, clearly caught off guard that he'd been listening in on what they were saying. She suddenly gets embarrassed when she realizes her son overheard her talking about grown-up things. The mom decides it's time to switch things up and tells her son to come eat dinner now that he's back home. At dinner, brought up that the school was hosting a singing competition this year. He let everyone know that had already signed up to take part. The dad's pumped and lets everyone know that the family's all in. Everyone's going to support her. To them, she's already part of the family. The hero nods along with the plan, not making a big deal out of it. He keeps eating, looking pretty chill, like this is just another regular lunch for him. On the day of the competition, people start showing up in front of the stage, all waiting to see what's about to go down. The crowd keeps getting bigger, everyone trying to grab a good spot before the show kicks off. Some folks are hyped, others look a little nervous, but everyone's paying attention as the performers get ready behind the scenes. The place is buzzing, like everyone's just waiting for something cool to happen. Parents sat right up front, holding a banner and cheering him on. Backstage, hung out with his friend in an empty classroom, helping her get ready for her performance. He checked her outfit, made sure everything was in place, and tried to calm her nerves before she had to go in front of everyone. The room was quiet, just the two of them, and focused on making sure she felt confident before she stepped out. He takes his time, gently putting makeup on the girl's face, making sure everything looks just right for the show. Cheeks turn red and she quickly looks away, wondering why he's staring at her so much. She can't help but feel awkward under his gaze. He smiled back at her and just said it was because she was really pretty. The girl's face turns red and she looks totally thrown off by what her friend just said. She glances away, trying to hide how caught off guard she is, but it's obvious she wasn't expecting that kind of praise. Out of nowhere, one of their classmates pops up at the door, interrupting them and making it pretty obvious he noticed what was going on. Anhan tries to brush it off, acting like she only needed help because he's decent at makeup, but her classmate isn't convinced at all. The hero figured it was always good to know a lot of different things. You never know when a random skill might come in handy. After checking the lineup, the classmate realized they'd be going up soon, just 2 acts away from their turn. After giving her warning, the girl steps out of the room and quietly shuts the door behind her. As the guy packs up his stuff, can't seem to sit still. He keeps glancing around and messing with his hands, looking way more on edge than usual. She gets to her feet, her face still red, and not really sure what to do next. The girl steps in, reaching out and grabbing the sleeve of his shirt. Out of nowhere, she admits she can't hold it anymore, and everyone can see liquid trickling down her legs, and can't hold back her tears. She's trying to pull herself together, but it's not working. Her performance is about about to begin, and the pressure is getting to her. She stands there overwhelmed, knowing that any second now, she's supposed to step out in front of everyone. She feels pretty down, thinking that her small mistake might ruin everything they've worked for. Seeing her on the verge of tears, the guy steps in and tries to help her calm down. He notices she's about to mess up her makeup and does his best to reassure her, wanting her to feel better. She sits by herself in the empty classroom, still looking rattled by everything that just happened. The main guy's brain kicks into overdrive as he scrambles for a solution. He looks around, searching for anything that might help him out of this mess. He glances over at the white curtains in the room, and suddenly an idea pops into his head. He spots a pair of scissors on a nearby desk and grabs them right away, not hesitating for even a moment. He heads over to the window and pulls down one of the curtains, getting ready to start whatever he's got in mind. He tosses the fabric onto the desk, grabs some scissors, and starts cutting it up. Stands there, her eyes welling up with tears as she tries to figure out what's going on. She can't make sense of what he's doing, and all she can do is watch. A few minutes later, he comes over and holds up a dress he put together using one of the curtains from the classroom. The guy gives her the clothes and points her toward the bathroom, wanting her to change quickly. Tells him not to worry about leaving, planning to change right there. She just wants him to face the other way while she does. The main guy's cheeks turn bright red. He definitely wasn't ready for her to ask that, and it totally throws him off. He nods and looks away, giving his friend some privacy as he quickly changes behind him. Stood behind, slipping into the new clothes he put together. The main character stays still, listening to the quiet noises as she changes her clothes behind him. He starts to feel really awkward and does everything he can to keep his mind off what's going on. After a while, she slips into the new dress and ties it up at the back. And Han finished up, letting him know it was okay to turn around now. She felt way calmer now, almost forgetting her nerves about the show with everything else going on. She gave him a quick thanks, realizing the chaos had actually helped distract her. He smiled at her, hoping she does her best when she gets up on stage. The contest, the two guys step onto the stage. The crowd's watching, waiting to see what they've got. As the music starts, they nail their routine, moving in sync and giving it everything. People in the audience start getting into it, some even pulling out their phones to record. By the end, the whole place is buzzing, clearly impressed with what they just saw. With that performance, they take home the top spot and become the grand champions of the singing competition. The crowd, the guy claps for his friend, grinning with real pride at how well his buddy did on stage. The next day, a staff member stepped into the classroom and just froze for a second when they saw the curtain totally wrecked. Because of what happened, both of them got stuck with detention. After school, they had to stay behind and clean up the classroom together. The guy figures he deserves this for slicing up the school curtain. Out of nowhere, a screen appeared right in front of him, showing that he'd just finished a mission. The hero lets out a small smirk, surprised by how things turned out. He hadn't seen this coming, but it feels like a win he didn't expect. Out in the hallway, a group of girls noticed Han. They said some nice things about her and asked if she wanted to join them after school. She lights up and quickly says yes to the invite, clearly looking forward to it. Her newfound confidence started showing up in her martial arts too. She was picking up new moves way faster and didn't hesitate like she used to. Every time she stepped onto the mat, she looked more focused, and even her classmates started to notice she was getting stronger. At the same time, the main guy is starting to get noticed at school. He just won a big tournament, and now more people are talking about him. After winning this time, he added another trophy to his collection at home. His shelf was already stacked with awards and medals from past wins, showing just how far he'd come. He ended up getting his face on the posters for his friend's family dojo, showing up everywhere as their go-to guy. After saving up for what felt like forever, he finally had $900,000. Now he could get his hands on more beast meat. He walks into the shop, and right away, the saleswoman spots him and brings out a box with his special order inside. This time, he managed to get his hands on some dragon lizard meat, which everyone knows is really hard to find. He grabs the meat and starts to take in the creature's power. A blue glow starts to form around him, showing something big is happening. All of a sudden, the system pops up and lets him know he's unlocked the codex. He also scores a new skill, which catches him off guard. Just got a new power. He can blend in with his surroundings so well that it's almost impossible to tell he's there. Even if someone's looking right at him, they wouldn't notice anything strange. It's not just hiding. It's like he disappears from people's senses completely. He thinks this power could help him slip past enemies and catch them off guard. Stealth and surprise might be his best shot. After everything that happened, the guy figures it's time to head back, but he remembers he still needs to grab a cake before going home. He's walking down the street when he comes to an abrupt halt. Something just doesn't feel right, like there's something off in the air, and he can't ignore it. He spots a woman with bright red hair walking by, surrounded by a couple of cyborgs who are clearly keeping an eye on her. Just then, one of the guards looks over and spots him. The guard smiles and calls him by name, acting friendly like they know each other. He spots the guy and instantly remembers, yeah, that's one of the older students from his last school. The recognition catches him off guard. He glances down and spots that the guy's legs aren't real, they're prosthetic. The upperclassman tells his story, mentioning he got into a motorcycle accident and ended up needing new legs. He explained how he got pretty lucky and ended up joining an experiment that turned him into a cyborg. The guy wanted to know more about the prisoner, so he asked. That's when he found out she was part of the cult of the Rat God. One of his teammates waves him over, letting him know it's time to move. Everyone's in a rush, and they can't waste any more time. The upperclassman finished up, nodded at everyone, and headed out with his team. They brought the prisoner along as they left. You can't help but notice how the police had a tough time handling her, but these guys managed to catch her without any trouble. At that moment, the hero figures out just how strong and deadly these cyborgs really are. He tightens his fists, looking like he's got something serious on his mind right then. His phone buzzes. It's his mom, checking in to see if he's picked up the cake and wanting to know what time he'll be back. Turns out his birthday and hands are only a day apart, so they always end up celebrating at the same time. That year, just like always, everyone came together to celebrate their joint 18th birthday. But it's finally time to swap gifts. Both of them start getting ready, trying not to look nervous. This moment feels important, and they can't help but wonder how it'll go. Out of nowhere, the ground starts rumbling hard, cutting the celebration short. Everyone jumps at the sudden shake, glancing around to see if something big just hit or if the ground's actually moving. Some guys glance at their phones, half expecting an earthquake alert to pop up. But something doesn't sit right with him. He can tell this isn't just some random dreamer. Something about the situation feels off, making him uneasy. Down below the city, where most people never go, a swarm of weird-looking rats started moving around in the dark. The boy looked up. The next morning, the TV was on, and a news anchor talked about what happened the night before. He said there was no reason to think a big earthquake would hit Shanghai because the city isn't on any tectonic plate line. He told everyone to stay calm and not freak out. At breakfast, eats quietly, then grabs his bag and gets ready to head out for school. His dad reminds him to watch out for himself as he leaves. Shen was already outside, looking pretty upbeat. He wanted to walk to school together, and he didn't mind tagging along. They walked side by side, and she seemed pretty excited about turning 18, saying they were adults now. Mentioned the college entrance exams coming up, which made Shen a bit uneasy. Just thinking about those tests got her nerves going. After a while, manages to scrape together enough cash to unlock his next codex. He sits down and starts the process, focusing hard on the void crocodile. Purple energy starts spinning around him, and his screen flashes with a notification. He's taking in the creature's life source. The progress bar finally fills up all the way, hitting 100%. He suddenly sees a huge beast that looks like a crocodile. He saw fins kind of like a fish, moving fast through the water. He was running for his life, ducking and weaving as the giant eagle swooped after him. The thing's wings cast a huge shadow over the ground, and its sharp eyes never lost track of him. Every time he thought he'd found a place to hide, the eagle was right there, making his heart pound even harder. Another notification pops up, letting him know he's just unlocked the Void Crocodile Codex and picked up a new ability called Danger Perception. The system breaks it down. Now he can sense when other creatures nearby are hostile, and he can guess how strong they are. Thinks this will come in handy, especially for spotting sneak attacks before they happen. He heads over to a crowded mall, wanting to try out his new power where plenty of people are around. Moves through the crowd, quietly checking out everyone around him with his danger sense. Now he can actually spot how strong people are. Most of the folks he passes are just regular Tier 1 or Tier 2, nothing special. Seeing this, he figures out that almost everyone here is just your average person. As he wandered through the supermarket aisles, he started thinking about what to add next to the codex. His eyes landed on some strange-looking packages labeled as life and death toad meat. He couldn't help but wonder if eating it might give him some kind of self-healing power. But as soon as he spots the price, his excitement disappears. Each gin costs 100,000 yuan, way more than he expected. He does the math and knows his web novel earnings won't cover it. Still, he sets his mind on finding a way to make more money once exams are over. The story shifts over to a different area now, away from the main action. The provincial education department handled things in the area. The scene takes place inside the minister's office. Odong stood out in the crowd. She had light purple hair that fell just right, and those antler-shaped horns on her head made her impossible to miss. The vice principal of Shanghai University, who also works as the Minister of Education for province, sits back and listens as someone gives a report. He stays focused, taking in all the details and paying close attention to what's being said. One of the guys on the team wraps up his presentation about how schools are doing all over the province. Odong sits back and takes a slow sip of her drink. She nods at him, showing her thanks without making a big deal out of it. She wanted to know what was happening at Origin Site number 36. Her assistant let her know things had finally calmed down and looked pretty relieved. He said that if things hadn't settled, the whole province would have been in serious trouble. There's nothing left for them to talk about, so Modong just lets him leave. After he left, Modong sat there in silence, her mind wandering. It had been a really long time since she'd taken on a student. The thought lingered as she stared off, caught up in old memories. She heads over to the big window that faces the beach. The view outside is all palm trees and bright blue water, but she's not really paying attention to that. Instead, she just looks at her own reflection in the glass, lost in her thoughts. The martial arts college entrance exam is no joke. It drags on for 9 days straight. On the first morning, everyone sits down for a written test, kicking things off with pencils and papers before any real action starts. In the afternoon, there was a physical fitness test. For a whole week, starting on the second day, the students head out into the woods. They're there to prove themselves, putting all their fighting and survival skills to the test. The forest becomes their training ground, and every day is about pushing through, figuring things out, and seeing who can handle the real thing. On the last day, everyone focused on taking a test to see how well they could handle gene fusion and mechanical upgrades. On June 7th, the exam finally started. Walked alongside Shen. Anyone could tell she seemed tense, glancing around and fidgeting with her sleeves as they moved. She grabs his sleeve, her hand shaking a little. Anyone could see she's on edge, trying to let him know how stressed she feels. She was mostly scared that she might pee herself again. Gives her a friendly smile, the kind that makes things feel a little more comfortable. He gives her a quick hug, trying to calm her down and let her know everything's all right. He held her gently, letting her know that she already knew what to do. She'd done her homework, and she'd even put on a diaper just in case. Now all she had to do was go for it and try her best. When he stands close to her, her face turns red and she feels a little nervous, but there's something about it that helps her relax. She thinks about what she needs to do and quietly decides to give it her all. She looks at him, wanting him to put in the same effort, and he nods, ready to step up too. During the written exam, sits back in his seat, looking calm and sure of himself. He moves through the test without any trouble, filling in the answers like it's no big deal. He wraps up way ahead of the timer. With time to spare and nothing else going on, he leans his head on his hand, scrolling through ideas in his mind for his web novel, trying to come up with something cool for his next chapter. After the exam ended, he spotted Shen leaving the classroom. She kept her head down and didn't look too happy. He started to think maybe the test didn't go so great for her. He walks over and rests his hand on her shoulder, trying to help her feel better about the test. He tells her that all they have to do now is pass the written part. But Shen cuts him off fast, letting him know she actually nailed it and doesn't need any help. Noticed something was off. He looked at her and could tell she didn't seem okay. He wondered what was going on with her. Shen's face turned bright red as she looked down, embarrassed. She admitted almost in a whisper that something had gone wrong. He ended up wetting her pants again. Embarrassed, she rushed off to the restroom, telling him to hold on. Watched her go, reminding her not to take too long since the physical fitness test was about to start. Later on, when it was time for weightlifting, Lin stepped up and showed just how strong he really was. While everyone else was struggling, he grabbed a huge 950 barbell and lifted it with just one hand, barely breaking a sweat. The announcer called out his final score, and the rest of the students just stared, not sure what to think. Whole class went wild when they heard the news. Everyone started talking about the times he blew past expectations before, like when he finished the 100-meter dash in just over 5 seconds, or that time he managed a vertical jump close to 5 meters. All those insane numbers were fresh in their minds, and it was almost like they couldn't believe what they were hearing now. Jen had just finished her tests and looked pretty worn out, still in her gym clothes. She walked over to who seemed curious about her results. She looks tired but can't hide how proud she is as she shares her results. She ran the 100 meters in 9.32 seconds, jumped 1.62 meters straight up, and managed to lift 125 kilograms. Even though those numbers are pretty wild, she lets out a quiet sigh and admits her results still don't stack up next to his. Noticed her test scores and seemed pretty impressed. He gently patted her on the head, a simple gesture that said he was genuinely proud of her. She looked up at him, her face lighting up with a smile, feeling good about the recognition. A little while later, came running over to the group, looking pretty hyped. He let everyone know that the results for the written exam were finally out. He let everyone know that, and Gang did pretty well, both landing scores somewhere in the high 80s, while he got an even 80. Curious about how the others did, he turned to ask about their results. Meanwhile, Shen, looking a bit on edge, pulled out her phone to check her own score. Her face brightens as she shares her score, an 82, just stands there caught off guard. Both of them glanced over at. Raised his phone, the screen lighting up with a big, bold 100. Shen pumped his fist and looked genuinely happy for him. Meanwhile, just stared, totally lost for words, not really surprised but still amazed at how, always seemed to pull stuff like this off. On the way home, Shen looked uneasy, thinking about the next step, the week-long practical test out in the forest. The idea of spending that much time in the wild clearly made her anxious, and she couldn't help but imagine all the challenges that might come up. Reaches out and takes her hand, letting her know that he's not going anywhere. She feels a bit better after that and decides to stay close to him. A quiet, private room, two mysterious people sat together talking about the exam. Their faces stayed hidden in the shadows, and their voices were low, making the whole scene feel secretive. While everyone else was busy stressing about the test, these two seemed to know something nobody else did. A man in a sharp suit, face hidden behind a creepy plague doctor mask, handed over a small wooden box to a younger guy. The masked man gave a nod, signaling his guy to take advantage of his job as a safety officer. The younger dude picked up the box, gripping it a little than usual. Inside the box, there are 10 small, dark objects that look kind of like seeds. The masked man calls them demon seeds, and he plans to use them to help him with whatever he's about to do. The masked man tells the young guy there's a chance to become a full member if he pulls this off. But the guy doesn't seem too bothered about joining up. He looks like he's got his eye on something else. He's way more interested in getting his hands on a rare fruit, probably because it's not something you see every day. The whole membership thing is cool and all, but honestly the fruit sounds way more tempting to him right now. The masked guy just laughed at him, almost like he thought the whole thing was a joke. He pointed out that grabbing one fruit wouldn't really get him far. It would only bump him up a little, nothing major. But if he decided to join their group, then he'd actually have a real shot at becoming something way stronger, like reaching a whole new level most people never even see. After a moment, things started to settle down. The tension in the air slowly faded, and everyone tried to get back to normal, even if it was kind of awkward. Some people glanced around, checking to see how others were handling it, while a few just kept to themselves, pretending nothing happened. The room felt quieter than before, but little by little, life moved on. The young man nods to himself, realizing that joining as an official member means way more than anything else he could win.